So I won't repeat that, because if there isn't an independent IBC, that is going to perhaps create the problems in 2027, even uh, contestation that could lead into uh, the Gen Zs would be assisted to form their political formations, so that when they are negotiating with the West, that from a point of strength and a point of authenticity, and that actually we should be working towards getting like half of the at least half of the elective positions in 2027 going to Gen Z and Gen Y, just like other places like abroad, where even 30-year-olds, 30 something, become prime ministers, because leadership is shifting to the younger generation, and people should be helped, mentored to get into the leadership. Thank you very much, Hilary, Abdi, Rose, and Eugene, for discussing with Kenyans and not being afraid to face hard questions. Thank you very
Thank you.
much, everybody in the space.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. We really appreciate your presence always. Come to our spaces and also give a voice. Patrick Osoi,
Yes, sir. How are you,
how are you
Hillary?
doing? I'm good.
Abdi, Rose, and the host, Eugene. So I have a
Thank
few
you.
questions. Yeah, I have a few questions, Waziri. How are you doing, Waziri?
So quite okay.
Yeah, you launched your party. I wasn't there. Anyways,
Sorry.
all right, no
You
problem.
had
So the thing
problem, I
is,
think.
all right, you will have to relaunch again so that we can come, all of us.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you so much. So I have a few questions, Waziri. Yeah? We have had issues with the IBC, whereby right now they have already reconstituted the commissioners to deal with the IBC issue. But I have had something that has been in the domain between the Koki and Moli, Dr. Moli, whereby there were intelligence stating that Koki was in support by the Honorable Stephen Kalonzo, and in this case, there was also some intelligence stating that William Ruto also is in conjunction in support of Koki or whoever. So those issues for me as Patrick Osoi, because I'm also running for the big seat, I felt they were very pertinent. I think I'm the first person to, after the 25th demonstration, actually from 18th, to state that we needed to have IBC reconstituted as a matter of urgency. I want to say that we, or personally, there need to be, as most of us have said here, we have to craft a way to make sure that the system is not interfered with. And the only way is not a billionaire anymore, it's a trillionaire. So I'm wondering, are we ready to embrace, or are we ready to gang up together to see that we defeat, the old mentality whereby money has been an issue to manipulate the politics of the day. Again, I think as a legal person, maybe you can advise and tell us on the waiting of the 2 years within the formulation of the IBC. Are we in a constitutional crisis? Professor, you can also help us on that so that we get to see, do we have the time to make sure that the IBC is reconstituted in time? And again, right now, Dr. William Ruto is in the business of making sure that the political party registrar's office is run not by the political party registrar, but run by commissioners who will be drawn from the ruling party and other parties that are of interest. Are we really safe to say that right now? I want to assure and I want to tell you there will be very hard. In the next 1 month, we will have a lot of registration of political parties in this country. We are not looking forward to see whether we are going to have a political party as young people. And I want to say that us being silent and I myself being a young person and who came out not during the Gen Z time, before the Gen Z on May last year and stated that I wanted to say enough is enough and we need to take over this country. And I'm always quiet because I really, and I'll repeat again, we are still not there feeling the pinch. And if we feel the pinch, I can tell you, gentlemen, we don't have to wait until 2027. If we sit down today, and either way, the sovereignty of the people is constitutional. It is not. It is not. It is not saying that we are going. Maybe we are overthrowing the government, or in any case, we are anarchy. No, the sovereignty of people is well stipulated in our constitution. We can take over the government if we want to, and we have the experience. You, Waziri, you are a wakili, you are a lawyer. Kalonzos are lawyers. Myself, with my experience from the forces, I was not just in the forces, I was a special force soldier. I know and understand the security overview of this country. So, if we remain to be serious with Gen Zs, millennials, and everyone, we have to craft a way and take over this country. And I'm telling you, the delay of IBC has been so deliberate. And I was foreseeing, or I'm foreseeing, God willing, let us have the time to have our IBC constitution within the time is allowed. Because this guy wanted to go, or might even go 7 years, if we are not careful. Because the IBC today says that we need 2 years before the elections. I don't know, they have to have a many, I don't know how many days before they have everything on board. What does that tell us? It tells us that this guy goes beyond 2027. So what I mean is that we have to mean business if we have to take over this government, and we have to take it very serious. And for me, on the state of the nation, on the regard to the IBC, in regard to the extrajudicial killings that are happening in this country, in regard to what we can see, and I remember when we had a meeting in X year on people getting abducted. And I said and stated people, I advise them on a security base. If you see any vehicle that is abducting any Kenyan, you shouldn't let that vehicle go anywhere. And you see, we have to craft a way where we have to protect each other as a community, as Kenya, as a way that, and I want to tell you, right now, what they're working on is to create, they are just creating a scenario whereby right now Dr. William Ruto has invested much by giving the Somalis community a lot of positions in the government. Today, he has gone and entered the Western Kenya region as a perception. So he is now creating a perception of Somalis and Western Kenya, so that now he can be able to steal election, claiming that the Mount Kenya region would have not won or would not support in any case. Anyways, what I want to mean is that we have to stand tall, we have to stand firm, and we have to work together deliberately to make sure that we take care of the business of the day. And it is not that because Patrick Osoya said he want to become the president, Waziri said he want to become the president. It's okay for everyone to say, but can we come on the board and say who is the best among us as we work together? So that now it is not the business of competing to each other. I am selfless myself. If there be any Kenyans who will better and be good enough to make sure that he can run this country, we will rally behind that person. But as a matter of fact, up to now, I am a bit skeptical, a bit worried, and as a matter of fact, still supporting a few of us. But still, the person we are dealing with uh, is not like Kenyans, no, because in 2014, I was a ground force commander of one of the most elite team in this country. And I want to tell you, William Ruto, Dr. William Ruto is not the guy you know. That guy is a no-nonsense guy. If we joke around forming some formations that are not serious, that are not inclusive, and in this case, not including everyone, Whether I have a mistake as a young person, as a leader, I need to be molded. I need to be brought to the board and be guided the best way to take course. If it's, for example, because I won't deny the fact of the young guy, this Morara Kibaso, for example. The young man has information, but how can he be guided instead of being fought? And I'm saying this with a lot of humility. You know, I've had more young leaders coming out instead of them being mentored to become whatever we want in this country, because information is you become powerful. And Professor Kibuda, I think you're one of the greatest persons I've been listening around. And I also want to welcome, I will visit you because you are the people that I would want closely to work with your experience so that you also help us with your experience. We have the energy. We need the experience that you have, you know, to help us see whether we can take over our country. The business we have on or before 2027 is to rescue this country, is to take over this country. It's not about even election. Election will do 2032, but the business we have currently is to craft and to know how we can take over this country, because this country is in rapid. This country is in the hands that we cannot trust even a day. So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to stop at that. And let me say that I am grateful to see this engagement. And when a leader comes in this space, let us see how we can make him better and better if we trust these leaders. Let them ask Patrick Osoyo, or help me to be better of myself, so that at the end of the day, we have the soldiers who can march on and take over this country. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to stand tall. We have to have a militant mindset to take this country. The person we are talking about, the person we want to compete against, is not a joke. It's a person who needs militant minds. It's a person who does not understand the rule of the law. You very well know that the guy does not follow the rule of the law. So we cannot approach him on the basis of the rule of the law, because he will not listen, he will not follow. And Waziri, allow me to, you just answer for me this question. Whether you knew or you understand the fight that has been there for the commissioners, that is between the Dr. Moli and Koki, who in this case has taken over as commission. What was the
Thank you,
wrangles?
Patrick. Trying
Why?
to land.
Yes. Why did we go for Koki and not Moli in this case, that he is the one who won this maybe election or nominations of the commissioners that need to reconstitute the IBC? Kindly allow me to rest my case.
Thank you, Patrick. I think good submission. Let's keep it factual, issue based, and let's focus on merit and accountability. That's good. I'll add one more question before we go to the Honorable Eugene Wamalwa. This is from our listeners who are listening us from all the parts of the nation. And the first question is about the mounting concerns about the curriculum, competency-based curriculum, CBC. This viewer says, from inadequate infrastructure, high cost, teacher unpreparedness, to the widening gap between the privileged and the disadvantaged learners. Is CBC a progressive reform that Kenyans should embrace, or is unrealistic burden requires urgent restructuring or even abolition? That's what he says. Then there is one more question on the economy, which I will also read. I think you talked about. One of Ruto campaign promise was to reduce the cost of living, yet life has become more unbearable for ordinary Kenyans. What are your proposals for immediate relief to struggling families? 45% of our salaries are being deducted through multiple levies and taxes. What steps can be taken to reverse this illegal deduction? Should the parliament or the court be used to challenge these punitive deductions, or is a mass action the only way? Thank you. These are comments coming online. Thank you for all of you who have posted your comments. Over to you, Hillary. You can hear me, Hillary? Honorable Eugene Wamalwa, you can hear me?
We can hear you, Abdi, or maybe
Okay.
kindly allow me to take it on before giving to Gino Amalwa. because
Okay,
even
I give it
equally
to
have a
you
question.
2 minutes, and then we cycle back here to Honorable
Yeah,
Juno.
maybe
Thank you.
maybe kindly you add me to 4 because I've been listening.
No,
And
we're on the top of the hour, Fabish. So just cut it at 2, and then we'll move from there. Thank you.
yeah, first, I am among the few people, or among Kenyans who don't believe that we are ready for election 2027 because we all understand the traits of William Ruto, and he has succeeded in making sure that he break all the systems. Not even single one is working, and we don't know the miraculous that is going to happen in the IBC. That is not going. We can say that we have confidence, and I don't know the miracle that Eugene you are expecting. That you can give us confidence that William Ruto is not going to manipulate the IBC. If he succeeded in manipulating the parliament, if he succeeded in manipulating the judiciary, what will make us think that he will not succeed in manipulating only 9 commissioners of the IBC? That is number one. Number two is this is to Eugene. The problem that we are facing today, it is about the system, not actually that it is only William Ruto, but about the system. And in this system, Eugene, you have served in this system before, just like also Professor Kivuda. And when you are part of that system, with the vast knowledge you have, you could not provide the solutions for this country, not because of your mistake, but because of the system. The reason why we are saying that first we need the overhaul of the system. And when it comes to, because it has been looked now like Gen Z are contesting for positions. That's why we are saying, before we go election, Gen Z need to come with a political party. It was not about positions of Gen Z and millennials, but it was about the good governance. When there is good governance, it doesn't matter the age bracket that is in the leadership, whether it's 90-year-old, whether it's 100-year-old, whether it's 15-year-old, it doesn't matter. As far as the system is working and favoring everyone. That is actually why people went to the streets. So it was not a matter of whether Gen Z are going to be given positions to serve or no. Because now, I think this issue want to be politicized and trivialized to look like Gen Z are crying out loud because they have been left out of positions. It is not about just positions, but it is about the system that work for the people. And it is very clear that the problem that we have today is not only the problem of makings of William Ruto only, but it is the entire system. That is why when we went to the street, we say we want to drain the swamp and we want to overhaul the system. And I think we should not lose ourselves from that rail of saying that we need the overhaul of the system and draining the swamp so that we can have a system that works properly for everyone. Lastly, is when we talked about the governance and we saw the other day when you were launching party, we saw the likes of Kalonzo Musyoka, we saw the like of Eugene Wamalwa, Matiangi, though he did not appear, he sent a representative. All these faces are faces that are known to us. They are not new. So how can you convince us that these faces that have been here for so long now, all of a sudden they have a new calling that they can now bring a change that they did not bring change? Because all of you have served in the system. But now when you are crying that we need to change the system, we need to join hand first and see that we can change the system first before talking of positions and who will become what. And lastly, even this is direct to you, Eugene. When you are launching a party, we saw Tony Gashoka saying that he want to vie for Nairobi governor under the DAP Kenya. And he has been consistent on that. And it's like you are not endorsing, you are not supporting, or there is a confusion in your party. So if you can see even the confusion at this level of onset before even taking off, is it not the same confusion that in case just we want to have that window period that, okay, let's have a benefit of doubt and go to election 2027, maybe if you eventually enter into the power, it's not the same confusion that you are going to carry. And lastly,
I think you have a lot of last
Fabish.
questions. Can you please land?
You don't land.
yes, let me land with this last one. So
I've been saying
Eugene,
lastly, and
we are skeptical because are you even going to be a pacemaker or you want to be at the ballot box, because we have seen political blockage in this country where someone will come say, I want to be president, I'm candidate, he consolidate. After all, they start to make affiliation, and then all of a sudden, he start selling people to another political party. That is the problem that we are having today, because then people lose the track of that ideology. The reason why people want to support you today is because of your ideology. But now, if next year you take people and sell to different people, same problem that we're having today. Many affiliations, somebody you are supporting different
Thank
parties,
you,
only
Fabish.
to be
Fabish,
taken to
Fabish,
Kenya
I'll leave
Kwanza.
you there. Thank you. And some of these questions were already answered in previous discussion as we were there. Maybe you joined us late. Thank you. I'll hand over the mic to Honorable Eugene Omalwa. Over to you, Honorable. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I think let me start with the last one. And I just want to tell my brother that the fact that someone served in the previous government does not mean he cannot lead or do better in the next government. And the example I can give you is Professor Kibwana. And I was very, very privileged to have been his student. Mwalimu wangu, I'm grateful, and I want to thank Hillary, Abdi, and Rose for actually extending this session, that I had a chance to talk to my professor of law, constitutional law. And after leaving the University of Nairobi, when I was appointed to the Ministry of Justice, I was again privileged to work with Professor Kibwana. He was the advisor to President Kibaki on constitutional affairs. We worked very, very closely between the presidency and the Ministry of Justice to ensure implementation of this great, great constitution. And I can tell you, after he left Kibaki's government, after we promulgated the constitution and he became Governor Makueni, what he did was a fantastic job. I can tell you, as the Minister for Devolution, that I worked with Kibwana again, and what he did in Makueni is what can be done when we have leaders of integrity, leaders of great vision in our country and in our counties. Professor Kibwana was able to show what leadership can be. And Makueni was one of the best performing counties. In spite of our local politics and challenges of impeachment, Kibwana was able to perform and outperform most of his peers. And today, as we speak, I can still say Kibwana is one of the best governors Kenya has ever had. And he transformed Makueni, matters corruption, matters tribalism, the way that county was run in terms of public participation and involving the people in decision making. I always gave the example of Makueni, where one governor used about 200 million to build a governor's house. I won't name that county. Yet Professor Kibwana used 150 million to put up a hospital that served over 100,000 people, and a house for a governor that served 5 people, the governor, his wife, and his 3 children. That is the difference in terms of leadership. Everything stands and falls on leadership of integrity. Those of you, because this question has kept coming back, oh, you've been in this system, you've been in that government, what will change? One of the best performing presidents of our republic was Mwai Kibaki. Mwai Kibaki served in the Kenyatta government. Mwai Kibaki served in the Moi government. He was one of the best finance ministers. He was vice president. But when Kenyans gave him an opportunity to serve as president, I think his 10 years were the most transformative. When you look, it's about a leader and the integrity of that leader and the vision for the country and the policies you bring. So to my last question, I want to say that the fact that Eugene served in the last 2 administration, does not mean he cannot make a great president or a transformative president given a chance. All you need to do is, yes, now public service, you have been here for the last 10 or 20 years, scrutinize his record in public service. And if you find Eugene Omal to be a qualified leader to be president and a leader of integrity and a leader who can actually measure up to your expectations, then he is qualified to be that president. Don't expect angels to come from nowhere to transform this country, but let us just have leaders of integrity to do it. And it will depend on the policies that will, what changed this country during Kibaki's regime were policies. He brought about the free primary education policy. At first, it looked like an impossible thing. But later on, the whole world celebrated the free primary education policy by Kibaki, and later on, the free secondary education and transition, 100% transition. Kenya is one of the few African countries that was able to achieve 100% transition from primary to secondary. It's because of the good policies Kibaki put in place, and that Uhuru carried on. And it was achieved in Uhuru's time, the 100% transition, but the foundation was laid by Mwai Kibaki. So what we are saying about the policies, it's not that we hate William Ruto, but we hate the corruption that he has entrenched in this country, and the tribalism. When you look at what has happened in our public service, when you look at the policies that are hurting every Kenyan, and it matters not whether you are Luya or Kalenjin or Kikuyu or Kisi, if a policy is bad, it's bad for all Kenyans. If the pay slip shrinks for teachers, it will not look at a teacher in Baringo or Elgeyo Marakwet or a teacher in Tuda in Mombasa. All teachers will be affected. Just like now, all policemen are affected. Because when that housing levy is forced on you, whether you are a doctor or a teacher or an MCA or an MP or a professor teaching somewhere, you suffer the same. So we are saying what we will need is really leaders who can make changes. And some of us were in the last administration that had put in place good policies. Linda Mama. This new government comes in and removes Linda Mama. There was Kazi Mitani, where we're putting money in the pockets of young people in different parts of the country, 2 billion every month. The first thing they came and scrapped it. When it came to importation of oil, we wanted openness, transparency. We had the OTP system, open tender system, where anyone in the energy sector who wanted to import, it was open. But here, our friends come in and change to G2G. Few people fly to Dubai, seal a deal, and the deal runs up to December. Again, they extend it. So as we speak, even if crude oil prices drop globally, Kenya is locked into a deal that benefited a few people, and oil prices have not gone down. They come up with policies that double VAT on fuel. This is where the rain started beating us. Change of policy. VAT, once it moved from 8% to 16%, everything went bottom up. And all these policies we are saying, yes, we have leaders, we have young Gen Zs who are qualified to lead this country, and we can work together. We have seasoned politicians and leaders who have served in this past regime and past administration, who have the experience, who can tell you these were the policies changed in the education sector, the new funding model, this is what was done in health, this SHA NHIF was working, this is what could have been changed. There's expertise, institutional memories there that can change this country from day one, where we can say, as we take over, and we are reversing this SHA thing, first executive order is this housing levy thing must go. We are going to relook at this and do that and that. It's like hunting. When you go hunting, those of you, many of you, maybe Gen Z might not know how hunting was in the village. Those of us who grew up on the farm, when you go hunting, you don't go with one dog. There will be the old dog that has a big voice that would bark, and the antelope would break cover and run. Then there will be that scent, the dog that knows how to smell the scent That's the most experienced dog of all and very important in following the animal. Then there was the youngest, the strongest, that runs faster than the old one, and the dog of that smells the scent. All of them are important in the hunt. It's what you will go hunt and bring home that matters on the family table. And all decisions, like Ronald Reagan said, greatest decisions, revolutions start at the family table. How are we going to hunt? Who will play what role? We can work together and complement each other in terms of ensuring we succeed in the objective. And I agree with Tosi that it will not be easy to remove William Ruto. And we are not removing William Ruto because he's of that community or we hate him. It's because he is the one who has brought these changes that are hurting Kenyans. And he has said himself the levels to which he wishes to raise taxation, he's not even halfway there. Meaning, as long as the cow is up on that tree, taxes will go up. What happened in October? What is going to happen the end of February when NSSF rates come in? What's going to happen in June after the Finance Bill 2025 passes will keep happening as long as he's there, because he has defied experts who came to bomb us, who told him, Mr. President, you've gotten it wrong. Higher taxes do not necessarily translate into higher revenues for government. There's only a level to which you can tax your citizens, and you have passed that level. In fact, you are violating the rights of all these employees, the dignity of the workers in Kenya, because you have gone beyond the level. And I listened to the FKE speakers saying the same thing. Many Kenyans are going into depression. They look at their pay slips and they can't make ends meet. Yet, you see wastage in this government. Billions are being spent on State House, an old, beautiful architectural Victorian age colonial look house is transformed into a new State House. Billions are being spent there. When you're saying there isn't capitation money, when you're saying there isn't enough money to go to the counties, when you're saying you can't even pay lunch for your soldiers. Now, I've been Minister for Defense. To remove lunch for our soldiers is something that has never happened in our history. Where is the money going? The wastage, the corruption, and everything that has come with it is why we are saying William Ruto must go. So, my friend, it's not about just the system, it's about the leader. Everything stands and falls on leadership. And Professor Kibwana is a great example of what good leadership can achieve for a county and a country. And this is why we're saying most of these things need to be changed. And we're saying we are not inviting Gen Zs. Professor, Gen Zs are ahead of us. We were there on the streets in 2023. We did our demos. We didn't achieve a quarter of what the Gen Zs achieved. We never even accessed the CBD. Gen Zs were better organized with better technology. They were able to get into CBD and into Parliament, and they could have gotten into State House if they didn't kill them as they did. And I can tell you today, they are the leaders of this movement. We can only come to complement, and they will be our partners, not passengers in this vehicle. So we want to assure you tonight that the coalition that we are putting together will be one that will put the Gen Z, the millennials, center and front of this movement, and they will be at the steering wheel. Watakuwa manahodha wa meli hii, sio abiria. That is one assurance we want to give. They can choose to form their own party. They come to the table. We know they have tried before. There's been frustration because the registrar said you can't form a party on the basis of age or region or religion because of constitutional requirements. But we do know that they can get aboard vehicles that they can bring them to the table, and we partner together, not for them to become passengers or invitees. So that, Prof, I want to assure you that is where we want to look at. And also the issue of integrity. As we come together as a coalition, we must be guided by values that we believe in. and also based on Article 10, the issue of integrity is very, very important. That cannot be compromised, because when you bring the wash leaders and you give them a country, we have seen what they can do. We have seen them share 16 billion through KNTC, go to Dubai, and they never brought anything back home. The edible oil scandal still runs. The oil scandal still runs, the G2G, and all these scandals, the fertilizer, fake fertilizer. This is what poor leadership turns into when we have the wrong leaders in these offices. So in terms of bringing, I think Mr. President raised the issue of the IEBC, the issue of Muli versus Muli. Yes, that was a serious issue in Azimio, but it was resolved through court. The court gave directions on who between the two Mulis should be, and the nominations were done, and Koki's name was forwarded. And as we speak now, Koki was has been sworn in, and already the panel has started its work. They have already advertised, so the ship has set sail. And let us wish them all the best. They're all Kenyans. We hope they'll do what's right for our country, to pick men and women of integrity to be our commissioners. But we must remain alive to the fact that William Ruto will try day and night to rig this election, to manipulate the process and those who will be in those offices. But it's only eternal vigilance that will save us. We know that they've stolen a lot of money. Yes, money is going to be an issue, but I think a time comes when, like in 2002, in spite of Moi's money, when the country decided no amount of money could stop the will of the people, and no amount of force can stop the will of the people. I think that's one thing. All we need to do is get the right team together, the right coalition together, and say, for this, we must all sacrifice to save our country. I think we've reached that crisis level, and we are seeing also an attack on independent institutions. It's Barack Obama who said in Accra, Ghana, that what Africa needs are not strong men, but strong institutions. What we have here is a leader who admires strong men and who has become friends to strong men in Africa, and who is borrowing bad manners from some of these strong men to grow into one of the worst dictators we might have in our country. And he's undermining all independent institutions. He has captured parliament. He has an all-out assault, unprecedented assault on the judiciary, and Martha Koome is targeted. We know that she might not be perfect, but the institution of the judiciary and its independence must be protected at all costs. The other institution that is being targeted is the ORPP, and we know that the Israel political parties is actually facing some challenges. And that comes down to what I said. William Ruto is an existential threat to a multi-party democracy. If he can buy all parties, collapse all parties, he wouldn't mind setting the feet of this nation back to the one-party system where he was nurtured politically and as part of the YK92 group. But we are saying we will get a team together that will defend our multi-party democracy, defend our institutions, and particularly devolution. Devolution needs to be strengthened with the right leadership. This is a game changer. We've seen it in Makueni and other counties. Let us not let our guard down. Matters education, CBC, new university funding model. These are some of the areas as the new administration, as we come in, we will be open to change. And already what has most of the changes made so far, their policies have failed. And I heard the Minister for Education saying the other day they are going back by September to get a new funding model, and that should be open to discussion with proper public participation, whether CBC or the new funding model is working or not. These are policies that can be reversed. They're not cast in stone. What is not working for Kenya must be discarded, and we get a new model that will work for this country and for all of us. So let me not think there are a lot of questions, but because of time, I want to agree with those who are proposing, particularly the incoming governor of Mombasa. Josephine was talking about the issue of the recall of members of parliament. As soon as IBC is formed, this should be a number one priority. And we do not have to wait until 2027. Our constitution gives us the power. The sovereign power of this nation lies in the people. They have only donated it. You can withdraw that power. The way Gachagua went home, William Ruto can go home before 2027. You're a member of parliament who have sold you out, who said yes to Finance Bill 2023, who said yes to Finance Bill 2024, that has made your life difficult. That MP, you have the powers to recall him. You don't have to Vumilia until 2027. So I agree with those of you who are saying, let us work on getting the right team together, and we see how we can change this. Many factories are closing. Yes, Josephine. It's also because of the harsh taxes that have been brought by Zakayo. What we need is a new team that can create the conducive environment so that we don't end up losing many of these investors who are moving to other countries. It's because of the environment that is not conducive. The ease of doing business in Kenya, we used to, under Uhuru Kenyatta, because the right policy was put in, we had ranked the highest in Africa and actually amongst the top countries in the world in terms of ease of doing business. We're being attractive, attracting more foreign direct investment here. But with the environment that's there, the harsh taxes, this has been affected. And yes, we have lost a lot of investors, and we continue losing many of them as factories close. Today, I've seen the unemployment rate is at an all-time high. We know that they were talking of exporting Kenyans to do many jobs abroad, but they have failed to create employment opportunities back home. The national debt and all that, I think we had discussed this matter at Bomas. Those of you who followed the conversation at Bomas, we had said actually what we needed was now to have a serious national dialogue to address matters of the debt and the ongoing borrowing, to see how we can strengthen Parliament and the oversighting role so that no borrowing can be done without full authority of Parliament. So that needs to be strengthened. We also wanted to look at the issue of the rising wage bill crisis. This is something that we had proposed at Bomas. We need that conference to also address the taxation regime, the heavy burden on the citizens, and the best way out of it. All this, as you know, Ruto was taking us for a ride. He was never serious about the national dialogue at Bomas. Nothing has come out of it. I do not regret that I did sign that report. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Eugene. I think thank you for your powerful submission and insightful contribution as the guest speaker as we come to a close of this session. I would like to give 2 minutes to Dr. Milton, 2 minutes to KOT, and 2 minutes to Professor to make their closing remarks. Then I can get back to you for your closing remarks. Thank you. Over to you, Milton. Milton, you can hear me? KOT?
Okay, thank you so much, Abdi and Milton and the rest of the speakers and the listeners for joining us on this platform tonight. Personally, I don't have much to say. I think much have been said by the speakers who have been on this platform. And so what I want to encourage us is that we want to see change in our nation, so let us go and get that change. Let us not wait for other people to bring that change to us. And by having said that, all the young people who are on this platform, I can see Akina Okayo, they're here. Guys, let us go and take that political power. Mheshimiwa Eugene, expect me pale Kimilili, and so your support inahitajika sana. So thank you so much and have a good night, guys.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Professor, over to you for a closing remark.
Yes, let me also say to KOT all the best. Endelea hivyo hivyo. Uh, I think it was Fabish who said that the issue is not like the young people getting into politics. That is not what the Gen Zs looked for, and that it is needed to smash the system, overhaul the system, and so on. Of course, one cannot disagree with that position, but it needs people to do that. The system cannot destroy itself, cannot smash itself. So I think, well, I can feel frustration from Fabish, but the system can only be righted by people who are progressive, who begin to say what is this new Kenya that should look like, and then proceed, from that level. And that is why my insistence that, or my idea, or my thought that the Gen Zs, the Gen Ys, must explore all opportunities to make sure that there is a leadership transition, and they now can bring the change that they have been asking for, and they believe is suitable for all Gen Zote. But again, I thank Eugene, because at least he's one of those who are not afraid to do dialogue with young people and Kenyans. And thank you, Larry. Thank you, Abdi. Thank you, Rose, for aggregating us. And please continue with this, because it's really great. I yield.
Thank you, Professor. Dr. Milton, are you there?
Yes, I'm ready to go.
Okay, please go ahead. 2 minutes for your closing remark. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Always refreshing coming back here to have this kind of discussion. I think it is necessary that we keep doing this, and the more we do it, the more the urge is renewed, and we keep refreshing and rewatering our desire for liberation for our country. I want to conclude by saying that I think what is becoming clear by the day is that we have a duty to liberate our country, and that duty requires all of us, like Honorable Eugene has kept saying, all hands on deck approach, and that is what we need from all different generations, all walks of life, regardless of background, whatever it is that you come from. And I want to emphasize that what we have seen is reason for us to continue putting on the pressure. We want more young people to come out and seek leadership positions. But beyond that, we also want to make sure that even age does not become the only consideration, but that we have people who present themselves, who believe in the dream Kenya, that the project Kenya that we all want, but also are a people of integrity, and they are people that can be relied on and can be depended upon. And lastly, is to say that there are signs, and every evidence points out that we are dealing with somebody that has no respect and no regard for anybody that does not believe in singing their tune, and therefore we must stay awake. They say stay woke. Stay woke. Let us stand for our country, and let us. I think the last thing is that let us continue engaging outside of this main space, because that is something that we are also lacking. Can we continue engaging even after these spaces and see what we can do together, what we can do to begin this snowballing this movement from the different levels. And I must appreciate the efforts by Honorable Kigame to reach out, come DM and what is it that we can do? And we are beginning to start. If we can do that and create these caucuses and create this network and contact list for all of us, we can then be able to start initiating ideas and activities that can make this a continuous thing, so that Pressure Point does not only happen on Sunday, it comes to live on Sunday, because that is when we are all putting our heads together and saying, hey, for the last 7 days, this is what we have been doing, and this is the outcome. And then Zakayo and his praise choir will begin to feel the pressure, and they would not even wait for 2027, and neither will they wait for anybody to chase them out. They will pack up their bags and go. May God bless you all. Have a good night, have a good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. May God bless our great country, and asante sana.
Mm. Thank you so much, Abdi. Odero, 1 minute. Then you-
Yeah, Odero, go ahead 1 minute before we go cycle back to Honorable Eugene.
Okay, thank you. A quick one. Mheshimiwa Eugene, we want to support you. We want to stand by you. My request is, would you do a consideration of making the face of DAP party a national party? That is from the top official leadership, the party leader Wamunyini, the deputy party leaders, the secretary general, and all of them, and all other top officials. Because as it stands right now, it looks a little more a community party or tribal party than a national party. So that one is one recommendation. If you can do that with the party, because we want to push all this as a team. We want to push all this as a family. So I will recommend that you work on the party so that it represents the image of the country of the country, Kenya. Second, I will request, because I know you have a governor in Trans Nzoia, Natembeya. Trans Nzoia is Kenyan food basket. Unfortunately, in Trans Nzoia, where we have maize being grown in bulk and harvested in bulk, we don't have even a maize milling factory or industry. Will you put this request to your governor, your governor under DAP, to put this under considerations? Because I think the child is an image of the father. So what you could do if you become a president is a clear replica of what your MPs or elected officials under DAP are doing right now, that they have powers and they have resources at their disposal with the areas of their jurisdiction. So if you can request this in Trans Nzoia, it is so alarming, and I've received a lot of concerns about that from Trans Nzoia officials of late for the last 1 month. Thank you.
Thank you, Odera. Over to you, Honorable Eugene, for your closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think to start with, Odera, yes, George Natembeya is not just my governor, but is also the deputy party leader in DAP Kenya. And that is one of the issues that we had promised the people of Trans Nzoia. I'll just ask him to fast track it because we have maize going for hundreds of kilometers to be milled, even as far as Mombasa, when that could be done right in Trans Nzoia and create employment for our local youth and people in the region. So I thank you for that tip, and also the tip about the party. As I say, this party was formed on the eve of it's one of the youngest parties in Kenya. It's just 3 years old, and what we had was a team, the caretaker team that formed it. But we've started grassroots elections. We started in December, and we'll be doing in all 47 counties, and we'll have the leadership that will come up from every corner of Kenya, so that we have a truly national party. Even as we form the People's Coalition, we want that face of Kenya to be reflected in that coalition as well. And even as we partner with the Gen Zs and the millennials and all the other partners, civil society, the churches, and apart from the political parties, we want that face of Kenya, an all-inclusive country where no one is left behind. I want to thank you all for listening to me tonight. And Professor Kibana, I must say, actually, it's not that I was that brave, but many politicians are afraid to come to these spaces because of the very harsh rhetoric we've been hearing. We've been called names, and people fear coming out to open themselves to insults, and because some spaces have been very insulting remarks and everything. But since we have nothing to fear, as Eugene Wamal have said, I've had a good time tonight. And Hillary, I want to thank you very, very much, and to tell you that if you and Abdi and Rose invite me, I will not hesitate to come again and be part of this great conversation towards Project Kenya. I would love to be part of that change that will see our country back away from the hands of those who have really messed it up. And all I will ask again as I close, I want to close with the words of 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 22, as I said. Let us not say, oh, we are Gen Zs, we are Gen Y, we are Gen X, we are Gen Alpha, and we sound like those Christians who are saying, oh, we belong to Paul, we belong to Apollo, we belong to Cephas. They were told that as long as you belong to Christ, we are on the same side. As long as tonight you believe in a heart of hearts that our country is going in the wrong direction, that our country is going to the dogs, that our country is suffocating under endemic corruption and tribalism, and you want things changed, you know that that is what the Gen Zs went out for accountability, for transparency, for good governance. And they use their tech savvy skills that many of our generation do not have. And that digital revolution was really a revolution that has been celebrated across the world. Let us stay focused on the real mission, which would be to ensure that we get our country back on track. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Eugene. Fellow Kenyan speakers, the incredible Pressure Point team, thank you for making to this space a powerful platform for dialogue, reflection, and action. Your engagement tonight is a testament to our collective commitment to demanding better for our country. Special appreciation to Honorable Eugene Mwalwa for joining us and sharing your perspective on governance, economic recovery, and the present challenges we face as our country. I think your insights have added a great value to this conversation. We appreciate your leadership, dedication to the national discourse. As we close, let's remember that change is not one-time event. It's a continuous journey that requires vigilance, unity, and commitment. The issues we tackle tonight, from economic hardship to political accountability, demand more than just discussion. They require action. Each of us has a role to play, whether through advocacy, engagement, or holding leaders accountable. Let's stay informed, let's stay engaged, and most importantly, let's stay united. The fight for better Kenya is far from over, but together we are stronger and we will push forward. Thank you all. Let's keep the momentum going. Good night. See you next week. And for those who are saying Rigadi Gashagwa, Rigadi will be here in the coming weeks to address us from Wamunyoro, and we will have this conversation going on. Asanteni sana. Over to you,
Thank you
Excellency.
so much, guys. Thank you so much for joining Pressure Point every Sunday. We are here live and we're making this conversation to make sure that our country is getting in direction. And Honorable Emmanuel, thank you so much for joining us in this conversation this evening and also taking more the time that we agreed. We're really humble about that. And also, it shows your commitment to Kenyans and you answer the question that they want to hear from your side. And we want to say that we let us see how much we can do all this together as Kenyans and to bring more change. We want the system to be changed so that all Kenyans feel appreciated, accepted, and feel part and parcel of the country. Again, if you going tonight, you are part and parcel of this team, the Pressure Point. So anytime we will be on your calls. Don't fear us, and let us make this conversation together as a family as we see the country as a direction. Thank you so much, guys, and thank you so much. We as Pressure Point, we are very, very humble all the time. You are joining this conversation, and we are very sorry those who didn't get mic. We are taking the notes, and next time, come early so that you can have a mic in advance. Thank you so much. Have a good night, everybody. God bless you. Have a good evening, good day, good morning.
With the dreams and aspirations of every young Kenyan in this republic. That said and done, I'm happy that today we get to host Eugene Wamalwa. He's a man I've met, and I'll give credence to that to Tony Gashoka, who introduced me to Eugene, and Kalonzo Musyoka. And we've had wonderful conversations with them on how do we change this country and how do we make young people involved in the change that they want. And as I learned, I remember we had a conversation with Eugene some time back on phone actually, and I was talking to him about the need for young people to be able to identify with a political party. And I remember during that time, Eugene was DAP Kenya should be the party. And today I'm happy that him with members of DAP, Tony Gashok was running for governor on the same political party. I've seen one of the young members, Senator something. I saw him, but I see he has dropped. All of them, young people need to know that those leaders and the leadership we want in this country, that leader you are saying, we don't want a corrupt leader. We don't want a leader who aligns to ethnicity, a leader who does not do proper oversight. That leader is you. It's no one else. It's you. The leader you're talking about is you. And how do you get to the point where you are involved in policy, where young people in this country today can say Eugene is running for president? And we tell Eugene, can we have all interns in government, across all government organizations, paid, given a stipend? Can we have affordable healthcare that works for all Kenyans? Can we have affordable education? And in particular, I wish we can go back to the days when textbooks were available in schools, because it's such a pain for parents to buy textbooks. I remember during our days, you'd go to class with an exercise book. And when your exercise book got filled, you go to the bazaar, get another one, and go back to class. You'd be given all textbooks when you went to school. Can we go back to that Kenya? That is the conversation we want to have, because that Kenya used to work. That Kenya where, people would go to hospital and NHIF worked, education worked, infrastructure was done in the proper way. Those leaders we are talking about are the leaders you. And I'm very happy when I see KOT Sonko. I know he's running for parliament, for a parliamentary seat. That is what we want. We want young leaders to be part of the discourse. And as I finish, I'll say this. I remember I once told people that to win in this coming 2027 election, I was saying before I got cut off, for us to win in these coming elections, I hope I'm still audible, Hillary.
I can hear you,
Yes.
yeah.
For us to win in this coming election, we must take an all hands on deck approach. And I'll give a very good example. The older people, the Eugene Wamalwas, the Kalonzo Musyoka, the Wangari Mother Karua, Gashagwa, those people are very good at ground mobilization. Our work as young leaders is not to try and go into or try and say we can beat them at that game. It will be very difficult. Where are we good at? We are good at social spaces. This is where, if you tell Rigathi Gachagua to come here, he'll be shooting in the dark. But this is where Mabonga thrives. So where Mabonga thrives, he should be able to bring on Gachagua. He should be able to bring on Eugene Wamalwa. And where Eugene Wamalwa thrives, which is ground mobilization, bringing people together, Mabonga should be able to work with Eugene to get his message across that he wants to be member of parliament. That synergy, that working together is what will make 2027 different. That is how we win this election. We will not
I,
win by infighting. We will win by collaboration. Thank you.
yeah, I hear you,
Thank you.
Anthony. Yeah, as we open our space with the statement, I want to say that we cannot forget our fallen soldiers or comrades who died because of this. We must remember them always, wherever we are, and let's remember that blood wherever we go. Those families are still crying at the moment. I've been in conversation with some families. It's so painful that you see young people are dying, the death that is not natural death. They're dying because they are killed. It's so painful. So, comrades, let us not forget about that as we make this conversation. As we said, always our conversation is best issues and way forward. I know Honorable Wajin Omalwa is much conversed with this, and that's why we have him here today and other speakers that will be speaking. We are here to focus on how we can have a better country. And usually we have only two languages that we use, Swahili or English. Feel comfortable that kama ni lugha ya Kiswahili, zungumuza lugha ambayo tutaelewa sisi zote. Kwa hivyo tunashukuru sana wale ambao utapata mic na waweze kuzungumuza. Abdi, I want to welcome you this point. I see Honorable Wajin is here with us and I want to welcome in our mic. Mheshimiwa, kama unanisikiza, unaweza chukua chombo hiki ili tuweze kuanza mjadiliano wetu wa leo. Abdi, go ahead.
Thank you, Hillary. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mridi, for all talking. Good evening, fellow Kenyans, speakers, listeners, the incredible Pressure Point team. I would welcome you to this critical discussion as we reflect on the state of our nation and chart the way forward. I think your presence here tonight is a testament to the unwavering spirit of Kenya to demand accountability, solutions, and meaningful leadership. We gather at a time when our nation is at a crossroad, facing numerous challenges that affect the life of millions. The soaring cost of living, the widespread unemployment have placed unbearable pressure on our families. I think our healthcare system is in crisis, with reforms like SHA and SHE raising more questions than answers. Corruption remains deeply entrenched, robbing Kenyans of the right to development and opportunities. I think the other thing is political intolerance is on the rise, marked by repression, abduction, violence, silencing critics, and creating a fear among the citizens. Regional inequalities persist, with many communities still waiting long promised development. Youth disfranchisement continues to deepen, leaving an entire generation excluded from decision-making process and denied opportunities to thrive. Meanwhile, insecurity and the erosion of democratic freedoms have created an environment of uncertainty and frustration. Tonight in this space is an opportunity to confront these issues head on. We extend our warmest welcome to all the speakers, listeners, contributors who are here to make their voices heard. I think a special thank you to Pressure Point, who have worked tirelessly to create the platform for an open dialogue and accountability. I think this evening we are also honored to host Honorable Eugene Wamalwa, a central figure in many of these national conversations and a party leader. Honorable Eugene, thank you for joining us tonight to share your insight, perspective, solutions on these persisting issues. We look forward to hearing your thoughts on healthcare reforms, economic recovery, political alliances, and the challenges of governance. To everyone present in this space, let's engage in a respectful, honesty and determination to ensure that together we can pave the way for a brighter future Kenya. Let's get started. Welcome. Over to you, Hillary. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you so much, Abdi, for the opening remarks. We want to remind our speakers that it is prudent to just raise up your hand, then we give you a mic, and then when you say 2 to 3 minutes, it's very important to make our conversation interactive and also, and we will give other people chance to do that. Yes, Honorable Mheshimiwa Eugene, if you can have a mic. Our mic, we have already done an open remarks. Now we can start our conversation. Thank you so much for joining. I know many people knows Eugene Omalwa. He has been there. He has been a consistent, a politician. in interactive and everything, and more so in a Danny case. Even last week, I saw him in court, trying to push to make sure that the cancellation was done properly, not that they can come on the back door. So he will try to explain to us, and also the Mulolongo guys who were found dead, and the abduction that is going on, and many young people who are still not there. I know we'll do that. Honorable Eugene Omala, how are you doing today?
I'm all right. Can you hear me?
I can hear you very well.
Thank you.
Yeah, we really appreciate your presence and joining this conversation today.
I'm most grateful for your invitation to Pressure Point. It's my first time on Pressure Point, and I'm most grateful to join you tonight.
Yeah, thank you. Now you're part and parcel of this team. I
Yes.
really appreciate. Yeah, we want to hear voice. Mushimiwa, as you come in now, you can introduce yourself for those people who doesn't know you. But also, when you come yourself, we have seen the you are fighting hard for Adani issues, and not only Adani, and these abductions that we are seeing, even young people are dying and mysteriously, and also the parents or the family doesn't have any answers. They don't know what to run to because it's the government who is doing this. What is your take on these things that is happening, Shimil?
I think right now the issue of abductions is a matter of serious national concern. And it's not just a matter of national concern, it's a matter of international concern. And we were yesterday with the families of two young men, Justice and Martin. These are very young fellows who disappeared in December. Their bodies have been missing. I mean, their bodies were discovered just the other day, yet they have been missing from December. We had been to court in terms of chasing the other young fellows who had disappeared. There were about 6 of them. You remember the team of Kina Kibet, Bill Mwangi, and the others. Muteti, these 5 were released eventually, but Steve Mbisi is still missing as we speak. That's a matter that we have been representing the families in court. And we will be going back again in February to ensure that the IGO police and the DCI and all those concerned are in court to either produce them dead or alive or face consequences. We were also following up on the Mulolongo 4, and unfortunately 2 were found dead, 2 are still missing. When we visited the city mortuary, it was a very, very moving experience. Meeting the families of these 2 young people, seeing their bodies. They were in a terrible state. And one of the bodies had been marked as a victim of drowning, but you could tell the fellow had been tortured and the body had decomposed. It was very, very a very sorry sight. But the other one had actually bullet wounds, meaning he had been murdered, and he had been marked as a victim of murder. So we have raised concerns about the city mortuary because it seems whenever we apply pressure in court, bodies just appear somewhere in the city mortuary. What concerned us most yesterday was that these bodies had been brought somewhere in December. Why had they been hidden all this time? On the day that the IG of police and DCI appeared in court, that was the day that they declared that the 2 bodies had been found. So we raised issues. Is the city mortuary being used as a dumping ground? Is there collusion between the police and the people of the city county in terms of hiding the bodies and releasing the victims whenever there is pressure in court? I think these are matters that need to be investigated. We did call for a public a commission of inquiry that should be open and that should be all inclusive, so that we get to the bottom of this matter. But we did also demand that the president, who himself in Homer Bay in December made a statement and a promise. It was a tournament where very many young people were, and it is in a region that has actually had the highest casualty of young people killed, both in the 2023 demonstrations and in the 2024 Gen Z revolution, he made a clear promise in broad daylight that abductions will stop, that all abductees will be released. As we speak, abductions are still going on, and many families are still missing their loved ones. So I want to say this to all who are listening, that I think there can't be something more important than this issue of abduction. There can't be anything more urgent than this. We cannot have a president, commander in chief, who is saying one thing, promising, and is not delivering, and whose government is saying we are clueless. We do not know who is abducting these people. This is what the IG of police is saying. This is what the DCI is saying. We are not involved as the police. Then who is abducting these young Kenyans? Who is killing these young Kenyans? And we have some buffoons in this government. You heard the broad-based brothers in Western saying, oh, some of these young men are abducting themselves. So we asked yesterday, so did Martin abduct and kill himself? Was it humanly possible for justice to have abducted and killed himself? But it tells you how this government is trivializing this issue and that they are not taking the matter seriously. The president is busy going to protect Haitians from gangs, illegal gangs, and abductors 12,000 kilometers away. He sent our officers there last year. He again sent a second contingent, yet he cannot protect his own citizens. He's very busy now in the DRC issue, where we can see Congolese young men, women being killed. But he thinks now as he wants to be the savior of the region, but he cannot save lives of young Kenyans who are being abducted and killed every day. So I think tonight, as we discuss, let us talk about this openly and know that we have a problem. We have a president and a commander in chief who is clearly not in charge, and who in any mature democracy should have resigned for failing, first of all, to keep his word, and to fail to actually protect Kenyans as he undertook when he swore his oath on our constitution.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, thank you so much for mentioning that. And it's so unfortunate that what can we say about the county government of Nairobi, apart from the national government? Because I know the city mortuary is under the county of government of Nairobi. So it means that, do you think that they're reliable because they know what is happening in the city mortuary and other mortuaries within Nairobi County? What do you think that? Do you think that even the county government is serious about this adoption, or they are a part and parcel of it? Because body cannot lie in city mortuary where they get reports every day. What is happening? The body that comes in and going out. Do you think that they didn't know all these things, Mushimiwa?
I believe, and I agree with the senator of Nairobi, Sifuna, because the senator himself said it yesterday, actually. If you look at his official tweet, Senator Sifuna said he believes the city county is complicit in these abductions, and they are facilitating, they're aiding and abetting in the abduction and killing of these young people by providing a dumping ground where bodies are hidden until the heat turns on. That's when a body appears. And even when we were at the city mortuary, what made us very suspicious was that there was a third body that at first had been removed, and they suspected it must have been one of the Mlolongo Four. But later on, they were told the body had again disappeared. So when we were there, they were saying, "Oh, it's in one of the cold rooms." So and the family of these young people, they had been there for 2 days, waiting to see. The entries had been made. When we followed up, we were told that third body was yet to be traced. But also, we're told there were some workers in the members of staff in the city mortuary who had actually revealed to the families that the bodies were there. I'm told there had been a move to suspend or transfer some of the staff. And even when we arrived, there was just a skeletal staff there, meaning some had been either moved and that speaks to a cover up. So we must say that, and this is what we said there, that Governor Sakaja needs to speak to this issue. His senator has said it. We as the opposition leaders have said it, and he must answer. He must clear himself and his government, whether they are complicit in this, whether they are actually in collusion with the police to be hiding bodies here, abducting young children, killing them after torturing them, then dumping them in this facility. This ultimately will have both the county government and the national government to answer for this. They must be held to account.
Wow. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. For those who are joining, thank you so much. Welcome to the Pressure Point. We are here with the Honorable Eugene Wamalo today. We are discussing about the abduction, and that we are asking those questions. Abdi, you have a question?
Yes, I do have a follow up for Honorable Eugene Wamalwa. I think he was been very vocal about the human rights violations. And I would like to see what concrete steps the opposition and the civil society will take to hold the regime accountable for these abductions and killing. I think we have seen Honorable Justin Muturi has just spoken about the alarming rate of enforced disappearance. Do you think this is a state policy of repression? Or is it a case of rogue security element operating outside the law? The other thing is about President Ruto promised in Homa Bay to end this abduction. What do you think is preventing him from fulfilling this commitment? Given that these extrajudicial killings have persisted, should Kenyans push for an independent commission of inquiry to investigate the state of the security? Thank you.
I think I would like to say that it is a political decision that has been made. When the Gen Zs came out on the 25th of June and actually entered parliament, and symbolically they seized their power, they took back their power, which under Article 1 they're allowed to do because this is delegated authority, and the sovereign power rests with the people. And they have only donated that power to parliament. They've only donated that power to the executive and to the judiciary. So when this parliament is captured and they are doing Ruto's bidding instead of representing the people and oversighting the executive, and they've now chosen to go into bed with the executive. The people had the right to go and say, no, enough is enough. Since you are not representing us, passing all these hash taxes, these bills, 2023, we came out as a Azimio, demonstrated. They say, let's go to Bomas and talk. The issue of cost of living was the single most important issue for that dialogue, national dialogue we had. Yet, when we concluded our dialogue at Bomas, you find that what was given more weight were the political issues that really served the interests of the political class, matters of positions, sharing of positions. And you could remember the memorandum Ruto had given to Parliament. There were three key issues. He said we want to create the office of the leader of opposition. We create the office of the prime cabinet secretary. Mudavadi's position to be entrenched into law, because so far he's been a ghost worker. His office is not really in the constitution. Then also creation of more positions for women to address the third gender rule. So when we were at Bomas, these were the issues given most weight. And when it came to the cost of living, they refused to drop any levies, to reduce any taxes. And I remember I said this to them. We were 10 members of that committee. I told them, if you are not going to address the Wanjiku issue, which is the cost of living, people didn't go to the streets. These young Kenyans didn't die because of Mudavadi's office or Wamalo or Raila to be given offices by Ruto's government. It was about the cost of living when everything went bottom up. With these new policies they put in place, doubled VAT on fuel from 8% to 16%, everything went up. And you can see from last year, from 2023 finance bill, 2024 finance bill, everything has gone bottom up. Many families cannot make ends meet. The taxes keep going higher and higher. And when the young people came out to protest, they were killed. So it is a policy made to suppress and to actually intimidate and silence. They would never want to see the Gen Zs come out again as they did on the 25th of June. And effectively, they impeached this parliament, they impeached this government. So the issue of legitimacy still hangs over Ruto's head and over Wetangula's head as the Speaker of the House, because Wetangula himself left that parliament in an ambulance. Those MPs were running because the owner, Wenyinchi, walikuwa wamefika. So literally, what they have been doing is trying to suppress the young people that this never happens again. And unfortunately, they've gone too far. If you look at the number of young people who have been killed, those who are still missing, and the impunity of this system to continue abducting people, even after the outroar nationally and internationally, it tells you they are not going to back down. So we must start now looking at another way of addressing this issue. And I agree that one way of doing it is the legal path that we have taken. And we have been in court severally with the families, exerting pressure for them to release those who have been found. It's been out of pressure, sheer pressure. For them to release the remaining, we must keep the only language this government understands is pressure, and we must maintain it both inside the courts, but we must also bring it back to Parliament. We must put pressure on our parliamentarians. When Parliament resumes, they must adjourn to discuss the issue of abductions as a matter of national importance. So all of us should put pressure on our MPs even as they come back, though we know they have been totally captured by the executive. They're doing the bidding of William Ruto instead of the citizens. But we must not give up. Let's maintain the pressure, but also we must look at other alternatives.
All right. Mheshimiwa, thank you so much for that. Yeah, we must look at other alternatives. But which one alternative do you think that we have as young people that will make us? But let me also welcome these people. I see Tabitha Gutu is here with us. Thank you so much for joining. The rest were already welcome. Dr. Milton, I see you dropped. Yes, Mheshimiwa. What?
I think the alternative I'm talking about is if Parliament fails, the courts fail, the only alternative left is for the people to go back to the streets. It is through the streets that we are able to get them to drop that finance bill. It's through the streets that we are able to get them to actually dissolve that cabinet. It's through the streets that Ruto came out of that expensive jet and started flying Kenya Airways. It's the power of the people. They say the power of the people is greater than the people in power. I think that might be the only alternative left, even as we're putting pressure in court, as we intend to put pressure in parliament. We must know that that alternative must still remain open, because anyone with a pay slip in Kenya today is hurting. Those who are thinking this matter, the Gen Zs were fighting for in June, did not really matter. From October, when they now started hitting the pay slip, we started the deduction 1.5 housing levy, the deductions 2.75 SHA. Now, from October, the pay slip has shrunk. This February, as the new NSSF rates now hit again, that is going to shrink further. Then we have the Finance Bill 2025 in the works as we approach June. I think we must start preparing the 25th of June as a day of revolution that must be made a national holiday through pressure, that those in parliament, even as they start, because the process has begun, even as they process the Finance Bill 2025, let them know that the people are watching. But we must not remain silent, even if they try to abduct and kill and silence those that they have. They cannot silence all of us. So that pressure must remain, and that alternative is the ultimate weapon left for the people.
Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa. I want to ask one question, then I open it to the people to ask. I know that there's several questions. I want to ask. I've seen you even this week. That sending. I saw you in court, still following the Adani case and everything. What is happening with Adani? I thought that the president said that it is now it is now cancelled and there's no deal anymore.
You can't take Ruto's word. I mean, this is a man who lies about everything, including a serious issue such as abductions. He lied in Homa Bay last year. Because soon after he left Homa Bay, more people were abducted. More people have been killed since he left Homa Bay. And he's so busy doing other things, keeping peace in DRC and Haiti, but people are still being killed in Kenya. Does Ruto's word mean anything? I don't think so. So I think that is the main problem. And even with Adani, yes, we went to court. And you remember, he was very determined to go on. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, Mheshimiwa, I can hear you very well.
He was determined to go on with Adani deals until the pressure came to bear through court. And eventually, the deals were cancelled. As we speak, we were in court on the 29th, and we insisted that the evidence of the cancellation must be placed. They were able to show us some of the letters showing that the matters had been cancelled, the deals had been cancelled. But still, we insisted that they must file affidavits that must be verifiable. We must verify that indeed the board meetings, the KIA, and all the institutions involved have actually effected the cancellation. Because there was also an attempt, if you remember, in his address in Parliament, he said that though this can be cancelled, but there is still onboarding allowed by the law. And that is something that we're also watching. So we will be going back again for further hearing of the Adani case, basically to confirm the cancellation. And once we have evidence, the affidavits and the actual cancellation, we'll be able to share with Kenyans openly. So that is where we are. But other matters that, he promised at Bomas, that NADCO report, I remember I told them, unless the cost of living issue is addressed, it will come back to bite us. I was the only one who didn't sign that report, and I told them if we let Kenyans down on this issue, it will come back to bite us. I can tell you tonight, with a lot of regret, that we let Kenyans down in Bomas. Had we actually done what was right, all these young people who came out and died in June wouldn't have died. But we said, we are not going to change anything. We'll only address the issue of positions, but not the cost of living. And we have lost many lives as a result of these decisions. Someone must be held to account, and that person is none other than William Ruto.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa Abdi. As you come in, then we welcome Tony Gashoka also, I know, on the same issue. Yes, Abdi, go ahead.
Thank you, Hillary. I just want to cycle back to Honorable Eugene Wamalwa. I think on the Speaker of the National Assembly, and I think one time he said Speaker Wetangula has been accused of being acting more executive than the executive itself. Do you think Parliament has lost its independence under him? And do you think, really, do you think that the Parliament is already captured, and is it going to really solve issues? Except the courts, I think the Parliament and executives are already captured. The other question was about should Parliament or the courts be used to challenge the punitive deductions that you talked about. Thank you.
Yes, Parliament is completely captured. Wetangula is my brother. I know he's a lawyer like me from Western Kenya. And this is a country of Mutuetu. And I know there are people who say, why are you, demeaning Mutuetu? But the truth is that apart from Wetangula, we've had other speakers from Western Kenya. We have had Kenneth Lusaka, Speaker of the Senate. He tried. We have had Kenneth Marende, who was one of the best speakers we've ever had. But we can say this tonight without any fear of contradiction. Wetangula Moses is the worst speaker this country has ever seen. And he's someone who has completely undermined the independence of a key institution, which should actually be the people's house, a place where the people's rights should be defended. But it has turned out to be a place where the worst pieces of legislation have been rammed through, and Parliament has become a rubber stamp of very terrible pieces of legislation that have led to many lives being lost. As Kenyans protest, these people do not want to hear the voice of Kenyans. Public participation has become, it's a mockery what they do in Parliament. Yet this issue of public participation does not depend on the generosity of the state. It is a constitutional imperative. It's part of our national values under Article 10. But when you look at Speaker Wetangula and the way they have handled the issue of public participation, they do not care about the people's voice. What they care about is the voice of Ruto in State House when he summons all the MPs there and tells them, ignore the noise on the streets. Do not remove even a comma or a full stop. This bill must pass as it is. This is what has costed this loss of lives. But had we had an independent speaker, then things could have been different. So that I can say, I repeat it again today, I've seen him in Western Kenya behaving like Ruto's youth winger, forgetting his office when he takes the rooftop of his cars and he's with Ruto, defending Ruto more than even Ishungwe himself. Does that sound like an independent speaker to you when he's supposed to be an independent umpire of a key institution that is supposed to oversight the executive? He does not. And as a result of this weakening of key institutions, and it has totally eroded public confidence in these institutions. So between us and disaster today, fellow Kenyans, I can tell you, the only institution left is the judiciary. And you can see there is a scheme, because Wetangula and his team are captured, there's a scheme of trying to pressurize Kome to play ball, to be captured. But if she does not, there's a scheme to get rid of her. So we can say this tonight without any fear of contradiction. Yes, the judiciary is under attack. And in the history of a democracy, never has a key institution like the judiciary been under threat to the extent it is today.
Thank you, Honorable Eugene. Yeah, that was really a good part of it. Before we give out the mic to the rest, a quick question for you. DAP Kenya has been in coalition talks with other parties. Can we expect a major political realignment before 2027? I saw Matiangi, I saw Senator Onyonka, I saw Honorable Kalonzo, I saw Rigathi in the launch of your party. Do you believe Rigathi Gachagua fallout with Ruto presents an opportunity for the opposition? What is your message to Kenyans who are frustrated both to UDA and Azimio and looking for a fresh political movement? Many Kenyans feel opposition leaders have not done enough to push back against Ruto excess. What new strategies do you propose beyond for 2025 and beyond? Thank you.
First of all, I must say that as someone who was part of Azimio, we have let Kenyans down. We let them down at Bomas when we went into bed and agreed to give way to Ruto and his machinations at Bomas. We could actually have nipped this problem in the bud if we had exerted enough pressure at Bomas. I remained like the sole voice. And as a result of that, I could not sign what I knew was really a betrayal to the people of Kenya because we never addressed the Wanjiku issue at Bomas. But after that, Azimio went on to actually go into bed with Kenya Kwanza. Now, those people who went on the streets and died, today, if they rose and came back, what do they think of us? That instead of siding with the liberators, the young Kenyans who came out, the Gen Zs who are so brave, who are only armed with phones and the flag and water, they came out. But they had the courage to fight over their country and to pay the ultimate price. We, instead of fighting for them or with them, we joined the oppressor. I heard one good senator say the other day that we had to stabilize the country. It was a matter of national security. We had to save Ruto so as to save his government, so as to save Kenya. And today, tonight, as I speak to you, it is something very painful to say tonight. Indeed, Azimio died last year. In my heart, in my mind, Azimio died because we stopped fighting for the people. The day we went into bed with William Ruto, the day we took the side of the oppressor against the young liberators of this country, Azimio died that day. And I can tell you today that, in fact, there are those who still say Azimio is there. Tonight, as I said it when we launched our party headquarters, Azimio is as dead as a dodo. Wanasema mpanda farasi wawili hupasuka msamba. Hapa farasi walikuwa wawili, either the oppressor or the liberator. The Gen Zs are the liberators. These are the people we should have stood with and stood by and stood for. And that is what we stand for. Those of us who have said we are living as Azimio, We are looking for new partners. Our partners who betrayed Kenyans and went into government, history shall judge them. But tonight, I can tell you, help is on the way. A new formation of a new coalition is on the way. And the new government is on the way that will liberate Kenyans, that will stand with the Gen Zs, with the millennials, with the people of Kenya, and that will right the wrongs of this regime. But for us to win, I cannot. I want to be president. I have already been cleared by my party as DAP Kenya as the presidential candidate. But on my own as Eugene Wamalo, even if all the lawyers gave me the votes and other friends, we cannot succeed. We learned our lessons in the 90s when we were fighting to remove, to have multi-party democracy back and remove the dictatorship that was there and then. We never succeeded because in 1992, we split our votes. Matiba was popular, Kibaki was popular, Jaramogi was popular, but against Moya divided opposition cannot win. We lost. 1997 again, Kibaki was popular. Wamalo, my brother, was popular. So was Raila and Gilu. They split the vote. They lost again. Moi won in 1997 by a minority of 36% of the vote. But we lost. Come 202, we learned our lessons. And we said, never again will we go divided and let everyone's ambition be more important than the nation. We say Kenya is bigger than all of us. It's bigger than Wamalo and his ambition to be president. It's bigger than Kalonzo or Gashagwa or Matiang'i or whoever else wants to be president, including Martha and others. Kenya is bigger than all of us. So we must learn from our painful lessons. If we are going to end this heavy taxation and save the pay slip and return dignity to the lives of workers of Kenya, we must be able to pay the sacrifice. The Gen Zs pay the ultimate sacrifice on 25th. We can do no less as the opposition. So tonight I can tell you this. Yes, we have started the journey of forming a new coalition that will form the new government. But we cannot, even on our own as politicians, win with the few political parties coming together. We need, as Zakayo buys every politician he can buy, and every party, like in Western Kenya, we had 4 main parties. 3 have been moved to Zakayo's side. Mudavadi's ANC has been swallowed. Wetangula's Ford Kenya. Now Oparanya, who was the leader of ODM in Western, has also been pocketed. There's only one party left in Western Kenya. That's the DAPK party. And tonight I say, Ruto might buy all the parties, but he will not buy DAP Kenya. We will stand with the people. We will stand for the people. We stand by the people. And he has bought all other presidential candidates in Western Kenya, but he cannot buy Eugene Wamalo. Because as we speak, the mountain has moved away from Ruto. The only pathway for Ruto back to the presidency is Western Kenya. That's why you see him there every week, every month. He's back in Nyanza, in Western, to try and recover a pathway back to the presidency. But tonight, I see a one-term president called William Ruto. If we come together, and this must go beyond the old and go beyond the young. How did we get the dictatorship, the kind of dictatorship out? The Young Turks started the movement. The Gitobos, the Mwites, Railas, we had Orengos. They were the Young Turks who started the movement that removed Moi from power. But at some point they realized they cannot do it on their own as the Young Turks, the Gen Zs of those days. They reached out for the old guard, the seasoned politicians, Kina Masinde Muliro, Jaramogi, Kina Kibaki. They came on board. Wanasema kidole kimoja kiui chawa. It's when these two forces came together, when civil society joined, the churches, Kinanjoya, we had Ndingimwana and Nzeki in Nakuru, the Catholic Church, the Anglican, they all came together. That is how we were able to remove. There's no other way of removing Ruto other than the path of unity. As he broadens his broad-based government already, and is going to buy more people and bring them on board, we must also broaden the opposition. And we must have a broad-based opposition that will go beyond the politicians, that will go beyond the old guard, so that we have the Gen Zs on board. In fact, the Gen Zs should be the front and center of this movement. And that is how we're going to win. I'm sorry I'm revealing our strategies, but we need you on board. tonight, I know I'm speaking to many Gen Zs who have said they don't want anything to do with politicians. They say these dinosaurs have been here forever, let them get out. We want a fresh leader. But it will not be that angels will come from heaven and drop here and save this country. It will be that there are leaders who can actually come together, and let the test be not your tribe, not your religion or region. Let it be your record, your integrity, what you believe in, what you stand for, what you believe in. So let me not talk too much because it's a discussion, but that is where we are tonight. I'm very confident that we are going to win if we work together.
Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa. We don't know to ask any question. I think also knows we have a lot of questions, but let us give people also as you take word. I want to bring Honorable Tony Gashok. I saw him saying that he want to vie for DAP Nairobi governorship. I see him here. Then Dr. Milton, you take it up there. Then Oluwande, then Tabitha. In that order. If you have a question, will be better. Yes, Tony Gashoka, go ahead.
Yes, good evening, Hillary. First of all, I'm happy to see that Eugene Rodvick Wamalwa, the party leader of DAPK, has come over to the forum. He is my party leader. He's also my friend. He has also been very consistent in standing in the space that was left when the opposition in Kenya was kind of disoriented following the ODM and movement towards Ruto. But I want to talk about three things very briefly because Eugene is a chief guest. Look, I don't want to mince my language. William Ruto is behaving as a thug. You know, this idea of abducting the young people with, faceless people and marked cars, it reminds me of what happened in South Africa during the apartheid regime. It was so brutal that over 2,000 people during the entire period of the apartheid disappeared and were unaccounted for. Other African countries, including Uganda and Idi Amin, and if other countries abroad like the ISIS, have used abduction and beheadings and killings as a way of spreading terror, hence the name terrorism. There is a danger that William Ruto is suspending the constitutional order in order to intimidate and scare Kenyans from agitating their political and democratic rights. So there is no point of calling him President Ruto. When you act like a thug, you are a thug. Walks like a quack, like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. The other issue is this issue of corruption. I want to say very clearly that the only way the opposition in Kenya is going to win, and one of the reasons I'm running for governor of Nairobi, is to bring back this issue of integrity. Because anybody who has been stained by corruption in the opposition or outside the opposition should never be entrusted in holding any public office. And we must be very careful as the opposition when we begin talking to the younger Kenyans through the Gen Z movements, if we are going to present them people of questionable character or people of questionable past, we must be in the war against Ruto, the opposite of him. The reason Ruto is in so much trouble is all the lies that he did and because of all the corruption that has gone under his watch. Look at the fertilizer. Look at the G2G government deal. Look at Andani that was stopped both in Kentraco. Look at Shaf or Shif. So if the opposition is going to rise, as Eugene Wamalwa has eloquently said, it must also do so on the bedrock of integrity. And we must not be tired in these spaces to tell our leaders, including Eugene, that we are not going to take any nonsense from anybody who is aspiring for leadership on the basis of compromising the integrity of public holding or of public holders. Because MPs and senators and governors are the ones who also reflect how good or bad a government can be. It cannot just be the president. So let us also ensure that we bring clean people, young people who are fresh. Finally, I want to talk about the IBC. I think the Kenyan people have been very consistent in terms of pressure through these spaces. In fact, this pressure is what has led to abductions because, you know, the spaces agitate this government. But the spaces were wonderful in putting pressure until the other day, the courts have given way to the formation of the IBC. We should continue the pressure that the IBC be formed without any further delay. And also that every eligible Kenyan can have an identity card, because we cannot vote with our smartphones. We cannot vote on the spaces, but we can vote at the ballot box. And because today you had invited Eugene Wamalwa, not me, let me confirm that the Democratic Alliance Party of Kenya is the fifth largest party in Kenya. We have a governor, George Natembeya of Trans Nzoia, and 5 MPs, and several dozen of, MCAs. I hope that when the time comes, Kenyans will join the party as I have and look for their success in elective office by joining the youngest, fastest growing party in Kenya, the Democratic Alliance Party of Kenya. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to share the platform with you, Jim. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tony Gashakada. I've been seeing you along the Adani issues, and we thank you so much for taking that case forward. Uh, Grace,
Hi,
what do you want to
Mr.
say? Because I see your mic is open, and also we said very well that don't
Okay.
open mic before you given a mic. But go ahead.
I was
Please,
to go.
my
Yeah,
my
you can.
phone is going off and there is no electricity, so I just wanted to put across my points before I'm actually off. If
You
you
have
allow.
2 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, so for me, my concerns, I think I have only 3 points to put across, and I want to thank Honorable Eugene Wamalwa for joining us. But I want to ask you, Honorable, when you're addressing us, please don't put the tribal lines like people from Western, you see Western. We are all Kenyans. Let us begin from there. So it's unfortunate that most of our leaders, they're the ones pushing this agenda of tribalism, either unknowingly or knowingly. So coming to my points, abductions. There's a friend of mine I was conversing with yesterday, and he was also abducted. He only has around 300 followers. So even me, I did not notice that he was missing. The good thing, he was able to escape. So this has left me wondering, how about me? How about you there that you don't have following? What will happen to you? You might die and nobody will ever recognize it. So I leave Honorable to answer us there what we can do. Secondly, state of the nation. Coming to corruption, if you notice back then, we lost 444 million due to typing error of NHIF. Nobody ever accounted for it. The person that was in charge is just out there walking freely with no questions. So that leaves me the question, where are we heading to as a country? Secondly, today I saw news that EACC is questioning Ruto's lands. So how can we have a president that is involved in corruption and we don't talk about it? Another thing just on corruption, Ruto went and borrowed 40 billion shillings for stale projects. That money has never been accounted for. There is no project that he has ever said is ongoing on among the stale projects. He has not also told us where the initial money for the stale projects went to. So that has left me wondering, as a Kenyan, why should I continue paying taxes? Lastly, I wanted to talk about the trends that we have in Kenya. First, money laundering. It was a big issue. In fact, it was among the topics on 13th of November 2024 on daily newspaper, not daily but the Standard, where Kenya is known as the home of wash. In the newspaper, it was also noted that around 6,000 414 people are involved in this money laundering. They are banking that money in Congo and Mozambique. So that has left me wondering as a taxpayer, how will I grow my country as others stop paying taxes and they bank this money elsewhere? Coming to the issue of SHIF, as a woman, I'm disappointed on the Grace Mulei's issue. This was a woman who was sick. She was arrested. Then, unfortunately, I saw an MP who told us boldly that she spoke to the person that sued Grace Mulei and begged him not to address that matter in court or go ahead with it in court, and he agreed to withdraw the case. So I'm wondering why, sir, you are saying that the judiciary itself is not captured, as you're saying, following what we have done. Well, we have seen the judiciary do since 26th of June. The cases that were there, and like Finance Bill 2023, it was rejected in court until the Supreme Court chose a path.
Did we lose Grace?
I
I
can't see
think
her.
so.
Where is he?
I think so.
Yeah,
She's dropping.
it dropped here. So we can bring Dr. Milton, and then we move from there. Thank you.
Okay, Milton, go ahead then. Yeah, we move on from there.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I want to take the opportunity to um, pay tribute to the men and women that have paid the ultimate price in the quest to liberate our country. I I say this to this morning, this night, this afternoon. I have a heavy heart because a few weeks ago I was on this space and I did say that William Ruto's government was keen on intimidating and sending a very strong statement to the young people of this country when I said that most, if not all, of those that are abducted have been killed. And I think many people doubted what I said, but the chicken are coming home to roost. That in signature fashion, William Ruto is only doing the minimal to ease the pressure on himself and buy time. And I want to be very categorical, as I've always been. These abductions is not child's play. These abductions are serious issue, and it is meant to show you. I want to repeat what a friend of mine who's close to the regime told me when we started this. He said that yes, munataka William Ruto aende, lakini he will go at the expense of the blood of your loved ones. This was last year. And I have kept saying that the state of the nation is such that we have an enemy of the people in charge. We have somebody who does not give a thought about the sanctity of human life as the commander in chief. We have such an individual and members of his praise choir wielding executive authority that is sacred, meant to be exercised in respect and accordance with the aspirations of the people. Those are the people that we have given our power. And that is the saddest part, That is why corruption is not stopping. Instead, they collect money and it is taken in bags and in sacks to Karen and Sugoi and State House. And we have people, a terror squad that has been drafted from neighboring countries. Today, I want to reveal to you guys that the people who are abducting our people are not Kenyan. They are not even Ugandan anymore. We only have a few. Majority of those people are coming from DRC. We have a few people from South Sudan, and we have others from Somalia and Sudan. That is how serious it is. And I want you to be very worried tonight and concerned that the people in charge of our security don't even know what is going on. The Inspector General of Police is clueless about the operations of security in our country. And only those that are willing to sing to the tune by Zakayo are being given the opportunity to know what is going on. And even them, they are told for information purposes only, and they are intimidated and threatened with their own life if those secrets would be known to the public. You have members of the cabinet, you have governors, you have members of parliament that are threatened that if you speak out, we know where you live, we will come for you, we know your secrets, you will not have peace. That is why those members of parliament will come running and will perform errands for William Ruto. Just at a snap of a finger. That is how sad it is. And that is why I want to call up as I land, and I want to ask a question to Honorable Eugene. Yes, you've stood with the people, but you are beginning to sound like it has been said before. I shoot straight, Honorable Eugene. What is it that you're doing differently? Because if I remember, you have been a part of this governance system from the time of Mike's demise. And you have been a part of the mainstream political system and the establishment. You served 10 years under Uhuru, and there are questions being asked of the Uhuru regime. You are now telling us that you're running for president, but at the same time, you're saying that the Gen Zs are going to be at the heart of your campaign. You are now telling Kenyans that Rigiji, who was part of the script of tormenting Kenyans, is now one of your partners. What is going to be different? What change can you represent? And if you admit that you cannot be the face,
Did we lose Dr. Milton? Okay, thank you. I think we lost Dr. Milton. I think let's keep this conversation factual and informative and with clarity and meaningful engagement. Thank you so much for all those who have spoken. I will read a few comments. Hillary, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Abdi.
Out to
Go
the
Yeah,
ahead.
Abdi.
I'll just read a comment from. This is a question comes from Wafula in a place called Chavakali, Kwa Transformer in Western Kenya. And this goes to Honorable Eugene Wamalwa. Wafula is asking from Chavakali that President Ruto recently concluded a tour of Western Kenya, making several promises to the Molembe nation. However, there are concerns about the delivery of these pledges. What is your unity message for the Molembe nation in light of this, and how can the region strategically position itself for better representation and accountability? He's asking, do you think the Luya vote is up for grab in 2027 or is still firmly in opposition hands? And his final question, this guy from, I don't know where Chavakali is what are your thoughts on the recent push by Ruto to install loyalists in Western Kenya positions, in key positions in Western Kenya? Thank you. Thank you, Wafula. Keep tweeting. Mashinani will read out your comments. All of you, thank you. I passed it to Honorable Eugene Momalwa. Thank you.
Yeah, as Mushimua coming in, I think Mushimua, can we have more questions so that you can answer them together?
Yes. We
Oh,
can take
all
a
right,
few.
all right. That's very good. So let me hear from Anthony. You I want to say that the military I see you. I'll bring you back, Anthony, and then Tabitha. You here?
Uh,
Anthony, go ahead. Then we'll see. Okay.
Thank you, Hillary. And I'm not here on Eugene's defense. There's a question that has been asked when we say that we want the Gen Z and the young people to be part of this new movement. I can here authoritatively say that I have had discussions with Eugene Wamalwa. So when Honorable Eugene Wamalwa says that the youth and the Gen Zs and the millennials are part of this movement and part of the people discussing the new Kenya, it is factual. It is not a narrative. It is not a falsehood he's saying. I can hear today say that when we talk about how do we have young people well represented in the formation of the political parties, that is actually happening. Because there are people who honestly believe that when we talk about the new Kenya, this Kenya that people are asking for, our stories as the young people will not be told by any other person but us. So let us not start this saying Eugene was in the past government, that person was in this government. That is not the story for today. It is not a story that will move us forward. What we need to discuss today is how do we come together? And I'll finish by saying, Jesus said, if you have not sinned, may you be the first to throw a stone. I voted for William Ruto. I have voted for Uhuru Kenyatta. So I cannot condemn Eugene for serving Uhuru Kenyatta, yet I voted for Uhuru Kenyatta. I cannot condemn anyone for serving Kibaki because my parents did vote for Kibaki. So we've all voted according to our aspirations and beliefs. The reason we are voting Ruto out is because he does not represent what we voted him to do. The Ruto who campaigned and the Ruto who's governing are as different as day and night. And as I finish, I want to tell you guys, this coming government, so that we no longer have MPs who are beholden to the president, the same way we were signing charters with county governments and women, MPs will sign charters with the people. So that the MP can tell the president, when you ask me to do something, remember in my constituency, I signed a charter with my people. That is the new Kenya we are dreaming. Thank you very much. I just wanted to
Thank you so
bring
much,
that up.
Anthony, for direction of that. And actually, I want to remind our people that we're talking about the state of the nation, and we have a conversation with Eugene Omalwa. What we are looking at the pressure point is what is the way forward? What is the best way that we go through? I want to say this. Even the Bible, those who read the Bible, we want to tell you that nobody is a saint, right? All of us are sinners, and why died Christ died for all of us, and even Muhammad, people believe in him. And now we move along as a team, and we need that conversation to put us in that direction, and that one will make our conversation be meaningful every Sunday as pressure point team. Snoopy, I saw your hands. Do you have a question to Mheshimiwa? Snoopy, I saw your hands. Okay, you don't have a question. Ronyo, go ahead.
Can you hear
Ask a
me?
question. Oh, Snoopy. Yeah, I can hear you now. Right.
So I just want to echo what Anthony said. I think there is an expectation that we are going to get some saints from heaven to beat Ruto, which honestly, it's what Ruto is expecting, that you're all going to be divided along the lines of either tribal or age, or trying to find the most holy or clean people to run against him. And I will echo what Mr. Amalo said. If you're going to be trapped in that conversation, then he is going to win. I think we need to find that middle ground, to find these leaders that we can push through, or we can support, that we can get that one goal that we want to get. And then the other thing I think is that as much as we're asking the youth to get out and vote, I think we should also be encouraging the youth to vie for these positions, to not just wait to be leaders of tomorrow, to accept tomorrow has come, so that they're no longer spectating. Nobody is pointing fingers at leaders because they have taken these positions of leadership. That's all I wanted to say.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Snoopy, for coming, and we really appreciate your presence in this conversation. Yeah, a quick one to Ronyo. Then Tabitha, I saw you. Tabitha dropped. Okay, Ronyo, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Hilary. I will just use maybe 2 minutes only. I just want to ask my brother Eugene, because he has declared that he is going to run for president and he has his own party, and we have been voting in members of parliament, the MCAs, and most of them they end up just being clown. I'm sorry for using that word for lack of better words. They just go into those into, I mean, they go there, but they don't represent the people who elected them. And the problem we have mostly is because of the party leaders, because Eugene is one of them. My question is, for example, I'll use my brother KOT, because he has declared he wants to run for Kimilili so that he can remove one of Ruto's clown. If, for example, KOT will join your party today, are you going to allow those people who are going to be voted under your party to use their brains and represent the people who elected them, and not just serve the party leaders and follow their party leaders as gods? That's my question. And what other plans do you have for the country, and why should we trust you to lead us? Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Thank you so much, Ronyo, for your questions. Mheshimiwa, I hope you note that when you allow
Yes.
even Gen Zs to come in as to your party, will you allow them, if they win the election, to
Yes.
lead people according to the vision that they have? Yeah, let me take one
Definitely.
question then. One
I'll just
question.
add one more question from the online people, from
Okay.
Mheshimiwa. Yeah, and this question is in regards to the reconstitution of the IEBC. So this person is asking, the reconstitution of the IEBC is now underway. Do you believe this process is credible, or there is an attempt to rig 2027 in advance? How do you view the independence of the new IEBC, given that the executive seems to have full control over parliament? Should opposition parties boycott the process, as it is clear the IEBC is captured? Thank you.
Yeah, Mheshimiwa, you can pick it up from there now. Then we'll bring another team again.
Thank you very much. I think to start with the issue of the young people being entrusted with leadership, I can tell you, as the leader of the youngest party in Kenya, that has also become the fastest growing to become the 5th largest party in Kenya, as Tony Gashoka said. I think he only forgot to say that apart from Governor Natembea and the 5 MPs, we have the youngest MP, actually, PK Salasia. And this young man really inspires me. When I met him, and there were many senior people, richer people in his constituency in Mumias East, who would have won and taken the ticket. and outmaneuvered him. But he was very determined, and when we supported him as DAP Kenya, we have not regretted it. Amongst the parliamentarians in the current parliament, he is one of the youngest, yet he has remained one of the most sensible. When it came to the Finance Bill 2023, he voted no, and he has been loud. He was one of the few MPs who can speak his mind to Ruto and speak, to power, truth to power. And in 2024, he stood with the Gen Zs. He's one of the MPs who came out to receive the Gen Zs. This young man has impressed me. And if we can have many more young people, not just on Twitter, not just on Facebook, not just on the spaces and the digital space, actually going down to the grassroots, mobilizing other young people to get IDs, to register as voters, and actually competing for positions in the county assemblies, because that is where devolved funds go. You can start influencing what happens in your county. And those who are strong enough to come to the National Assembly, you can determine what happens in your country. As a young person, PK is doing it, you can do it. My party is scouting out and is going to waive actually fees, because also the handicap for many young people is, the financial. When it comes to nomination, the fees required is quite high, and the money required, the logistics. We want to make a deliberate move, and that's why in our last meeting at Chui House, we said we were going to promote PK to be actually the leader and the face of the agencies in our party, and to go to all the 47 counties to get other young people who aspire to leadership to do it. And I believe tonight, as I speak to you, it doesn't have to be a very old or young person who must be our president. The test should be the test of integrity. I believe a young person with integrity can lead this country, but equally a young person without integrity can destroy this country. I say so because William Ruto was the youngest candidate. I mean, he was younger than Raila, he was younger than Wajakoya and all the other presidential candidates. But has he really lived to the expectations of Kenyans? The truth is no. When we started this journey, I didn't declare my presidential candidacy just this year. I did it in 2012 with Uhuru when he was Minister for Finance. I was Minister for Justice. Ruto was Minister for Finance. We started a generational change movement. We were called the G7. And we fought to actually replace the old guards in our politics. Yes, we succeeded. Uhuru got in. It was a generational change in our leadership. Ruto was younger than Uhuru. He got in. And I've been waiting for my chance to come in, but I cannot vouch for just a young leader because of age. We believe that a young person must be the one, but equally, it doesn't have to be a disadvantage for younger leaders because of long experience. Because some of those people, when you look at their records, their long experience has been bad for this country. So the taste, and this is what would want to put in place. As Madison said once, if we were a nation of angels, we actually wouldn't need a government. But we don't have angels. It will be Kenyans, but we must set stringent conditions beyond the Leadership and Integrity Act that we have. I think the Gen Zs and all other patriotic Kenyans should set very strict measures through which the candidates who will be picked to represent the new movement can go through. And like Caesar's wife, they must be above reproach. But the test should be the test of integrity. We must look at someone's record. Was this person a person of integrity wherever they served? Well, are they tribalists? Are they people who can unite or divide this country? So these tests, as we get together, we can actually form a team of the winning team that we can change this country. But we need to do it together. I think it is General de Gaulle who once said, sometimes war is too serious to be left to the generals. Tonight, I can tell you what is happening in our country, and the future of a nation is too serious to be left to the politicians. We must invite the agencies. We must invite civil society, the church that he rode on to get in, and all those patriotic Kenyans who are saying our country is going in the wrong direction. And you're talking of the latest opinion poll saying over 80% of Kenyans believe Kenya is headed in the wrong direction. How do we change direction? By getting a better team, a better option for Kenyans that can now get our country back on track. There are those who are saying, why would you work with Gachagua? Gachagua is still a Kenyan. Yes, he was Ruto's deputy. Yes, he was overzealous in actually preaching the gospel of shareholding. But whose gospel was it? That was William Ruto's gospel. When Ruto started by dividing this nation into hustlers and dynasties, he started the gospel of division. In the Western tour, I had one MP saying, oh, we must isolate the Mount Kenya community. And, but we said that, I know the young man, the MP for Webuye Dan Wanyama. That is not his script. That is the script of William Ruto. And when you look at the politics that have destroyed this country, politics of division, politics of hate, 41 against 1, calling other communities madoadoa, this is what led to the bloodshed in 2008. We must not allow our country to go down that road again. So we must come together and see how we can save our country. Corruption, I think, has gotten to the highest levels ever. Never in the history of our country has any of our president been listed globally as one of the most corrupt leaders in the world, not in Africa. I think the recent list that came out showed that William Ruto was only second to Assad. But Assad is not even in Africa. He's in the Middle East, and he was deposed because of poor leadership. So meaning in Africa today, Kenya is being led by a president who has broken the record in matters corruption. I think the second record is going to win is the record of being a lying president, the culture of lies that the churches spoke about, and that I think there was someone who estimated that he has told over 5,000 lies. But that is what we are saying. Let us look at how we can come together. If we are looking at, we can only do it on our own as Gen Zs, we don't want these politicians, we don't want those church people, they are the ones who brought Ruto, we will not make it. Let me tell you tonight, even the NAC moment, they were young and old. I remember when my brother and Kibaki and Gilo came together, they had young people around them. Ngilu had one of the youngest people called Cecily Mbarire. Cecily was a Gen Z then. Cecily used to sit at the table with Kibaki, with Ngilu, and she would reason with Wamalwa. Now, that is the kind of coalition we want to see. Us speaking to each other with Gen Zs, not us speaking at each other, saying we don't want these politicians, we don't want that one, we don't want these dinosaurs. Let us come together to save our country because Kenya needs to be liberated. There are many issues you have raised, some of it touching on corruption, what has been borrowed and disappeared and never accounted for. All these matters we addressed at Bombers. And actually the control of budget told us something that shocked all of us at Bombers. She said the biggest corruption is what is called budgeted corruption. In our budgets, therein lies the greatest corruption. So some of these monies that you're talking about, typing error here that costs billions, money being borrowed that you can't trace in terms of development, all these the Auditor General spoke to. And it opened up the need for us to have transparency and accountability as one of our national values under Article 10 effected. And all those who have been looting this country held to account. This we must do. The matter of Shah and the Grace Muley, I think with time, Grace Muley has been vindicated. She was one strong woman who came out and spoke truth to power. They arrested her for that. A few days later, members of parliament sat in Naivasha and they said what Grace said. They said Shah is not working. I listened to the deputy president the other say, yes, Shah has some challenges, but we can correct. NHIF might have had some challenges, but it was working. NHIF could have been improved. at a lesser cost. But there were other interests. The one of 4 billion and the Adani shadow in the Shah deal. It was not about that. I think it wasn't about our national interest. It was more about vested interest that led us to where we are today. But as the new team, as we come together, we have said we must revert back to NHIF, and we have experts who knew what needed to be done to improve that system. And if now that the MPs who passed the laws themselves are saying it is not working, if by June they have not scrapped this thing, if this broad-based government fails to scrap it, then the People's Liberation Coalition government will scrap it. And we want to work together to identify those areas, including housing levy. Of course, we were in a government with Ruto that had put housing as one of the pillars of the Big Four agenda. But we had made it voluntary. But when you look at how this thing has been pushed, mupende musipende, you must pay. You find that there are also other vested interests in terms of, okay, who supplies the cement? Who supplies the iron sheets? Who supplies the steel that actually builds these houses? You find those vested interests connected to those in government. And might not just be about you, a patriotic Kenyan who wants to invest in housing, getting a house. This is a house you might never get, but you will pay for it, upende usipende, because money is going to someone's pocket. So these are some of the issues that we'll be looking at as we form this coalition. And we might be doing when we get into power, because I believe we will get William Ruto out. He will be a one-term president, just like Goodluck Jonathan of Nigeria, just like George Weah of Liberia. The opposition beat the president recently in Ghana. We saw it happening in Botswana. It can happen in Kenya. Let no one tell you tonight. Because I heard some of his cronies say, Oscar Sudi say, Yani, we've never had a one-term president in Kenya. It can never happen in Kenya. Neither have we had a president who has taken the title of the most corrupt president in Africa. It's the first time it's happening. And his government is full of the wash. And that is why you see all these corrupt deals from G2G to KNTC. You took 16 billion. You're saying you're going to get edible oil, reduce the prices of essential commodities. Then you just share the money with your cronies and some members of your family. And Kenyans just keep quiet about it. No, these are some of the issues that we are going to fight for, and we need to work together. Is the judiciary independent? As I said, we are not a nation of angels. We can't say the judiciary is completely independent, but we can say it is not completely captured. It is the only thing that remains between us and total anarchy. And we must defend jealously the independence of the judiciary. When we see an overbearing executive withdrawing the security of judicial officers, intimidating them, when you look at the budget, what they promise is not what they're doing. So all this, we want to work together to see how this can be done. Dr. Milton, about the abductors, from Somalia, from Sudan, I want to say yes, we have evidence of some of those abductors not just being Kenyan. We know that there are those within the region who are actually being used to abduct Kenyans. And these are some of the things that have been going on in other countries around us. We must never allow Kenya to go down that road. So let me not, because of discussion, Wafula from Chevakali, who asked about Luya unity. I think this is something that, as a leader from the region, I've made my contribution, and you cannot question me about that. But also, as our friend had said earlier, I think when I talked about Wetangula being Mutuetu, I was actually saying it the other way around, that though Wetangula is a Luya like me, he's the worst speaker we've had. I was just stating a fact. And we've had better speakers from Western Kenya, and one of them was the one of Solomonic wisdom called Marende, that we all the nation is proud of. So let us still fight for integrity. Let us fight for leadership without limiting it to age, region, or religion. That is how we're going to save this country. Together, we can.
Thank you, Honorable Eugene. And I like the part you spoke about the healthcare. And this is now, you had Moses Kuria talking about digitalization of Taifa care. Yet the current system is already failing hospitals. The chaos in patients are stranded. Access to care is very difficult. And here we are talking about about a broken system. Instead of fixing it, we're still talking about digitalizing it. So another layer of bureaucracy in healthcare. Hopefully, I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Abdi. I think let us take questions again, and also let us keep it 2 to 3 minutes. That will be better for making our conversation going on. Wanjiru, I see you. How are you, Wanjiru?
Yeah, hi, good evening. I'm fine.
Good evening.
I'm fine, thank you. I have a question for Mr. Eugene.
Go ahead.
Okay. And a question maybe for even for all of us to actually think about, because we saw the Garissa Wajir Court, High Court decided to, I think there's someone's mic. Okay. Yeah, they decided to say the census that was done in 2019, it's null and void. The counting that happened was not okay. And they're saying the numbers, they are not light. So in my thinking, it would say Luto is trying to do something behind the scenes to win the next election. And also something else that happened in the northern region to note was the fact that there was a little bit of double registration. Some refugees were registered as Kenyan citizens, and they still had the refugee status. So I think they went to the court and something like that, and they were declared Kenyan citizens. So the question is, we have been having a lot of refugees in Kakuma, in Dadaab. I'm not becoming a hater. I'm just saying, like, these are people who are immigrants to the country, who are under the shadow of UNHCR. How comes we are having such irregularities, like the census one that caught me by surprise? Like, the census counting was long, and the High Court decided the counting was also long. So meaning that come 2027, or Luto is going there next week, there is something that might be done, and we might all of a sudden hear a surplus of 100 million Somalis. I'm not hating any Somali. I just saying the census thing is actually something which is so weird, and we should actually open our eyes on it. It's something that is crossing my mind, because not being Wanjiru, but just being Kenyan, it shows that. Sorry, I think I'm a minute per time. So thank you, Hilary.
You are done with your question? I'm sorry for opening the mic. Are you done, Wanjiru?
No, I wasn't done. I had you opening them.
No, finish. I think that just is a mistake. Just finish your question.
Okay. Yeah, so that was the question, Mr. Eugene. What is your thoughts on that? And what is DAP Kenya? And congratulations on that as well. What is DAP Kenya thinking about doing it? Are you going back to the courts? Because you went to the courts for Adani, which is commendable. Are you going to the courts to challenge it? Or how are we going to allow 1 million people be added from nowhere? We know this country, we have been having ghost workers. So I'm not saying ghost voters, but something is going to happen. So Mr. Eugene, thank you for listening to me, and thank you, Hilary, as well. And I will drop so that others can come.
Thank you so much for that question. I know Mushimo is taking notes. Grace, go ahead. Grace Bahati. Dr. Milton, I'll give you time. Grace Bahati, go ahead.
Thank you. One of the things I like to ask about it's as much as we are looking at the state of the nation. One of the things, of course, you've talked about SHA. Okay, I'm an elected MCA, and one of the things, of course, the SHA is not. It has not been working. It has been really frustrating at the ward level. That's number one. And another thing I wanted to ask about from Honorable Eugene Omalo, are we going to also question the state of our counties? because from the level of our understanding as one of our works as MCs is oversight and of course our representation of people in the legislative, because you find most of us, we can be actually criticizing Ruto, but yet at the county levels we are having other mini Rutos. And do you think devolution as of now, is it working? Is it something that needs to be worked on or should it be scrapped? Because how it should be working as of last year or beginning of this year, we saw the government actually increasing more money to the county levels, yet the devolution work that we are supposed to be doing as counties, it's actually not felt at the ward levels. The other thing, do we need to push to have at least ward equalization fund? Reason being, most of the time you find if the governor was never voted in certain areas, you find those wards, they never pay attention to such. So for me, my question would be, can we look for, do you think there are ways that we can look to push for to make sure devolution is working, or do we need just to scrap it because actually we are just making some billionaires out of county levels? Yeah, I think that specifically will be my question.
Thank you. Thank our conversation today. And you said you're an MCA for where? From where?
From Machakos County, Cheleni Ward, Matungulu constituency.
Okay. Oh, you're right. Thank you. I know I'll ask you a few questions later, but that is fine. I know when Shmua will respond on the same. Omondi, go ahead. Pamphil, Omondi. Then I see Western Shilo. You're on mic. Omondi, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hillary and Honorable Eugene, for being part of this conversation, and all my fellow Kenyans. As for me, my name is Pamphilo Mondi, incoming Senator Nairobi County 2027, and one Gino Malwa. I want to start congratulating you, and I feel so good when Honorable you said that you are supporting the youths. That is quite very good. But one of my is, how should we Kenyans trust you, Honorable Eugene Wamalwa, following the fact that you have been a cabinet secretary in the Uhuru regime where Ruto was the deputy president. And the other day, we saw Ruto having some allies looking for Uhuru, where they met, they talked. Final details of what they talked about, it's not in public domain. Thereafter, we have seen a few men of Uhuru who have joined the government. And you being one of the people who worked under Uhuru, how can we trust that one day, one time, before 2027, you will not join Ruto? Because I'm seeing a situation whereby Ruto is going for those old people who have worked in the government. If you see like of Kabogo, Joho, some in ODM, of which we are trying, I'm trying to think in that pattern. As a political analyst in our nation, we are seeing a situation whereby Eugene, you are going to join Ruto come next year or early 2027. That is why we as people who are really want to liberate this country from the ties of those people who have been holding this nation at ransom. They have held this nation at stake since independence. We cannot trust you unless you prove otherwise, Honorable Eugene. For the work that you are doing right now, fighting for the rights of Kenyans who have been abducted, about Adani, we really feel good when we see such leaders who are speaking. But to the end, we are not seeing this one happening. Thank you so much. My name is Pamphilo Mondi, incoming Senator, Nairobi County. I've had the Honorable guy who have said that is going to vie for Governor Nairobi under the ticket of DAP. Very good. But let me assure you, as long as Nairobians will elect you and you still, just know that I will not take that one for granted, because today we are seeing a senator in Nairobi who is overseeing a lot of theft, who has never talked about anything that is taking place in our Nairobi. Many banks are being swindled. Money is being siphoned, but our senator is just quiet. Our senator is just busy with ODM party. Anytime he speaks, he just speak about the party. He
Omondi, thank you
doesn't
so
speak
much.
about
But
anything.
Thank you so much. I think we are not talking about the county here. We're talking about the state of the nation. So when you want to be a senator in Nairobi, let us know. We can invite you to be a speaker here. Then you tell us what you're gonna do the people of Nairobi. I think we mentioned that when we were talking about the city mortuary. So thank you so much, and we hear what you're saying. We wish you well, and we will invite you to be here as a visitor so that you can talk about Nairobi when we reach about the county the county's leadership. But now we are really trying to see what is happening in the country, in our country, national government. And when we put it that way, then our conversation will have a meaning and also have an impact the people who are here and the people who are listening to us. Thank you so much, Umosh, again for coming. Odero, go ahead. Then Shilahu.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
Odero, Christopher, are you here? Okay.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here online. Thank you, Larry.
Good.
I was talking. Unfortunately, I never knew that my mic was mute. Mheshimiwa Eugene,
Yes.
I want to ask a question. I want to ask a question about the Gen Zs. You've mentioned including inclusion of the Gen Zs in your presidential ambition. I'm one of the Gen Zs, and I can confirm that we contributed largely in the 25th demonstration of June last year. And one thing that I know with us, all the Gen Zs at large, is that the Gen Zs are not a phantom somewhere. They're not some third party that are existing, or they are in a ball somewhere that are going to be invited from some phantom kind of a space. These people exist with us in different segments. Each and every segment has a Gen Z. Like in DAP, I know Gen Zs who are in DAP. In ODM, there are Gen Zs who are on the street from ODM. In Jubilee Party, there are Gen Zs who are on the street from Jubilee Party. Even in UDA, there are some Gen Zs who were in the street on June last year from UDA. So Gen Zs are not somewhere like a ball that we're going to pick. They are just within us. They are just part of us. We are having them. Now, my biggest question is these Gen Zs, while they were joining the streets, like me personally, while we were going to the street last year, we were mobilizing our people, our peers, according to our capacity and according to our reach, according to our network. And by last year, during the street demonstration, I was able to mobilize almost over 10,000 people on the street. And these are people, the Gen Zs that were attached to me as a person. And there are also Gen Zs that were attached to other individuals as a person. Boniface Mwangi had Gen Zs that were attached to him. The group of Andefa had the Gen Zs attached to him, etc. Now, these Gen Zs, the biggest issue is that these Gen Zs, when we came to the street, or when Gen Zs came to the street, they came with the tag of Gen Zs, which is one uniting tag. But when they go back to their houses, they go back to their roots. They go back to UDA, they go back to ODM, they go back to DAP, they go back to WIPA, they go back to ANC, they go back to each and every house that they belong to. Now, which mechanism am I going to put in place to convince a Gen Z that is in WIPA to join DAP, to put a Gen Z that is in UDA to join DAP, to put a Gen Z that is in ODM to join DAP, so that you bring an neutralizing environment for all these Gen Zs, because that is the biggest issue. Even right now, if you try to unify the Gen Zs, it's like you are capitalizing that tag. They always assume that you are capitalizing that tag, or you want to take advantage of the fact that they did something in the June 25th event. So you want to take advantage of that so that you use it for your political mileage. Even me myself, after mobilizing very many Gen Zs on the streets in June 25th, I could call them back and tell them that I want us to do something, because they'll just assume that maybe you have been paid, or maybe someone is using you to feed on our sweat, or to feed on our toil. So which mechanism? Gen Zs are very sensitive right now. If you try to talk to them that I want you to come together, let us build something, they will literally take it that literally mistake it as if you are taking for your political mileage, or you are commercializing that tag. Even them themselves uniting among the Gen Zs right now is a big issue. Each and every Gen Z that comes together and comes aboard and tell the rest, let us unite, let us do something that is going to be of good to the country. Let us form a party, let us form an affiliation, let us form a coalition, let us partner with so and so, let us interrogate these people. They'll try to look at you as if you had already been either you're commercializing their effort, you're commercializing their tag, or you're commercializing their identity. So they will really be scared. If you had 10,000 people, you'll end up remaining with 5,000, because 5,000 of the rest will be feeling as if you are using their name for your political mileage, even if you're genuine. And this is a very big issue of concern that I'm really having right now with my fellow peers. Even though we have been trying, we had worked on a party, and we have been building on the party. And I'm really happy that you are also anti-Ruto, and you're in opposition. Anybody who is beating Ruto is part of us. So we'll support you because we're beating Ruto. We want Ruto out by the end of the day. That is our common war front. The second question, which is the last question, Mweshimiwa, we have had a lot of sufferings for the last 60 years. And I had a say that we want just to get Ruto out, and we really don't care what is going to happen. But what if tables turn, that we want to now dig deep? We want to now ensure that we correct historical injustices. We want to heal Kenya. We want to get things back in line. Do you think you have anything to regret about or to fear if the Gen Zs that we call about the group, or even the people who will take over in the next administration, decide to go after debt, decide to go after corruption scandals, decide to go after historical injustices, ethnic incitements, etc.? Do you have anything that you can fear for, or anything that you're afraid that if any action taken in that direction might affect you as an individual, or might affect you as a party, or might affect you as a principal or as a president come 2027, provided you win the elections? Thank you, Hillary.
Wow, those are pertinent questions. I think Mheshimiwa will answer them. Yeah, you can mute your mic, Odero. Thank you so much, Jency, for joining us. And we appreciate, actually, we really embrace that young people joining the conversation. And this is what I think Mheshimiwa was talking about, and what we're talking about when the young people are joining and make also a voice, so that what they think, what they had. I know Mheshimiwa, your dad. I want to give to people, then I give you Mheshimiwa to respond on the same. I want to give Shihalo, and then I give Milton, then Joe Wagashiku, you are here. Then Mheshimiwa will come. So Shilaho, go ahead.
Thank you, Hillary. Greetings to your audience.
Greetings, bro.
Greetings. Eugene, I don't think your nascent political formation presents something new for Kenya. You are the same old ancient regime, the old order. The cynical politicians that have always taken Kenyans for a ride, taken advantage of Kenya's misery.
Shila, I think
Am I back?
you're back, but I think you are taking it wrongly. We invited Eugene Omalo to speak to us as a Kenyan, and we know, and himself he said that he was there since during his brother and after his brother he has been in this formation. And now, so we're taking that way, then we are losing focus of our conversation. And as pressure point will not take it kindly. So be to your point. Go ahead.
Let's move over to Milton. I think Shilahu dropped.
Okay, Milton, go ahead.
Okay, I think I wanted to conclude my remarks by saying that I belong to the school of thought, or the philosophy, that for us to change Kenya, we must be able to, at personal level, interrogate and ask ourselves the questions that we are likely to be asked when we present ourselves out there. So the positing I am doing to Honorable Eugene, as I have done to the others, is not in any way in doubt, meant to castigate or cast aspersions on the fact that, I mean, we all know, for example, the question of Rigathi. We know what can happen, and we know that everybody has their Damascus moment. But then we must be alive to these things, because these are issues that will be raised. These are questions that we must be able to answer ourselves before they are asked by other people out there. And I say that because I believe I belong to the team and the movement that is crafting the direction for a new Kenya. The last point I want to make, and Honorable Eugene, I would want to hear your thoughts on this, is that on June 25th, The young people and a majority of the Kenyan people said they have no confidence, and they sacked parliament actually when they took over the house, and the mess was carried away by the young people. The people exercised their right as provided in the constitution. And secondly, there is no security of tenure for political office holders. Why, when the people of Kenya are saying they cannot take they cannot take another day of William Ruto's brutality and oppression? Why are we not listening to the people? Why are we not providing that the people can exercise their power? And William Ruto does not have to wait until 2027. He needs to go today. That is what the people are saying. As the movement that is crafting the new administration. That is what we want to speak to. We shouldn't be speaking about the 2027 narrative. And here is my reason why. William Ruto is doing the bare minimum to survive another day to another month, make it a year, and run to 2027. He has no intention of participating and competing in a free and fair election. And even the IEBC, what is happening, you're going to see another hurdle come in the way. And we are likely not to have an IEBC in place, which is the reason why Kenyans must send William Ruto, sack all of them, run them out of town. And Eugene, with your team and ourselves, we need to be honest and say, are we ready to take over power, and how ready are we? How do we midwife the transition? For me, that is the biggest question that we need to ask ourselves. Otherwise, the narrative of 2027, we are creating another dictator in William Ruto, and we will regret because he deceived us. And you, Eugene, you sat in NADCO, and that was a deception. It was a long con. What has happened to it? We could be in for the same thing. So there is no wisdom. What is the wisdom in doing things the same way and expecting different results? That is just my that is what I want you to address, and so that we can put our heads together on how we can send William Ruto home before 2027 with his praise and worship team, and how do we midwife the transition from that kind of midterm impeachment of the leadership. I want to land at that point, but I may, from time to time, quip in to say one or two things if need be.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Terry. Thank you so much for that. I know Mushimo will respond on the same. Joe Wagashiku, go ahead.
All right, thank you, Hilary. I have a few questions for Eugene. I hope he writes them down.
Okay, go ahead.
I want to know first and foremost whether he is one of those who believe that we have to wait for 2027 for us to get the solution we can get now. Are you one of the 2027ers? Second, I also want to give him an opportunity to toot his horn and tell us what he's done. What is his body of work? We've seen him serve with Uhuru. We've seen him serve under Kibaki. But we want him to introduce himself to the Gen Z, to the Kenyans. What have you done? Um, uh, what have you done for the people of Kenya? Blow your trumpet, sir. Tell us what you've done. Also, as an ardent advocate of democracy, why would you, Eugene, in your right mind, represent Mr. Museveni? I know you represented him as as his lawyer against Besigye or during that election. And Museveni is not pro-democracy. In fact, democracy in Uganda is gagged. We can actually say there's no democracy in Uganda. So when you represent Mr. Museveni, are you really pro-democracy? The other question is you've served in various capacities as an MP, minister, under Uhuru and Ruto. What separates you from other regime men? And I want you to know that
Sounds like Joe dropped. Okay. Over to you, Hillary.
Joe amepotea tena. Nini mbaya na mic yenu bana? Asante sana. So, Mheshimiwa, are you okay when I give one person again?
I think there are quite a number. Probably I can take this, then see we have
Okay,
time for
okay,
another
go
one.
ahead. Go ahead. All right, thank you.
Yes,
Just
I think
Joe.
a lot of people have addressed the issue of IBC, and I'm very happy that it's a matter of serious concern to all of us. And what I can tell you is that what will serve us is a turn of vigilance and pressure on William Ruto. We cannot trust him, and he's a kind of a fellow. If you are sleeping in a room where he is, you sleep with one eye open. And so far, we cannot say as the opposition that we boycott the process, because so far, out of pressure, we have started the process of getting the panel in place. Of course, there were a lot of intrigues there that caused the delay. And we know that it was deliberate. In fact, they didn't want to form this thing this early. I think the later for them, the better, so that we fall into a crisis. You remember the curricular report was very clear. It was supposed to be 3 clear years to have this key institution in place. But for them, the later it comes, the more of a crisis that will be created, then they can fix things. So I'm happy that the first step has been taken. The panel has been sworn in. We have also had the advert put in the papers. And tonight, I think I also want to ask all patriotic Kenyans here and in the diaspora that we need Kenyans of integrity to serve on this commission. And they will not just come. People have to apply for these jobs. We have to ensure that the panel gets the right people for us. And this is something that even as we move forward, so far, we can say the process is credible, but if and when we have any credibility issues in the process, we shall raise the flag as the People's Loyal Opposition, and we will be monitoring this process very, very keenly. But even as we speak, we know that already we have had a problem with the Secretariat, and we issued a warning about 2 weeks ago where we said that we cannot allow the Secretariat to start processes of procurement before the IBC is fully constituted. We do not have a commission in place yet. Yet we find that there are some monkey business going on in the Secretariat. They're trying to pre-rig the whole process so that by the time the commissioners are sworn in, certain things have already taken place and they're irreversible. So that would already have compromised the next general election. So that is one thing that we're keeping a very keen eye on. To come to the other issue of the census, I know concerns have been raised. But I have never really believed in demonizing or isolating any community in Kenya. And that is why I've been against that language of 41 against 1, where we have some politicians who are deep in the 208 post-election violence that targeted the Kikuyu or Mount Kenya community. And they actually ended up at the ICC for crimes against humanity. We see them reintroducing this language. If they have fallen out with the Mount Kenya bloc, which was the biggest bloc that got William Ruto into State House, that bloc has the democratic right if today the Mount Kenya said we are supporting Wamalwa, they have a right to do that. If they say they're supporting Kalonzo or Gachagua or anyone else, but they cannot be victimized, because the language we saw in Western Kenya was the one of poisoning the people against the community. I wouldn't want that also, just like the mountain has been targeted. I wouldn't want to see the Somali community also targeted. But also we must, like we have said here, we must be careful that we don't open a door that can actually pre-rig the election, because William Ruto, given any opportunity to play with the numbers, we could have this election already pre-rigged, even if we are to have a good commission. So I agree with those of you who have raised concerns about the issue of the census, and probably we might need to push. If we're saying certain numbers were suppressed, and or certain numbers were inflated, then the best thing would be, so that every Kenyan has confidence in this, is to have a proper census redone, so that we know the correct position. So this one area, I think it's a conversation we need to have, because elections are about numbers. If those numbers are suppressed or inflated, that will affect the will of the people, which will not be reflected in numbers that have been compromised. So that issue is something that we must keep a keen eye on, and that is something we will be following up very, very closely. And thank you for raising it. The other concern, of course, is the issue of the counties, and the Honorable MCA is right in saying that apart from the national government entrenching, and William Ruto has entrenched corruption and tribalism and clanism and cronism more than any other president. This is also reflected in the counties. Devolution was supposed to hold the key to a more equal Kenya, more equitable Kenya, more inclusive Kenya, a more democratic Kenya, where people in their localities are supposed to have a say on what happens, the decisions that affect them. But you find that in our counties today, instead of them becoming building blocks of a prosperous, inclusive, equitable nation, because the county is a building block of the country. But you find that in most of these counties, actually, corruption has really been entrenched. You find that you have tribalism. Many communities are sidelined, and you find that there is clanism. In fact, if you were to go to certain counties where the issues of clans is very, very strong, you find that there is marginalization. Yet devolution was brought to end marginalization. You do recall that at independence, there were certain parts of this country that were marginalized. And this is something deeply rooted in our history, from session paper number 10 of 1965, where you had high potential areas and low potential areas, and focus in terms of development was lopsided to one side of the country. So we cannot say we do away with devolution. As the longest serving minister for devolution, I've been to every county. And I can tell you today, devolution has transformed this country. And in areas where they had never seen a tarmac road, a place like Mandera or Wajir, you will find that there are tarmac roads that have reached these areas. People used to travel all the way to Kenyatta National Hospital just to do dialysis. And you find that now, in a place like Turkana, you can actually find very modern medical equipments that you could not get unless you traveled over 1,000 kilometers away to a hospital. So devolution, yes, it's working, but with challenges. That the biggest threat to devolution is really corruption. The biggest threat to devolution is the tribalism and marginalization of certain communities, clans, and that is why the issue of devolving further to the wards, the issue of ward equalization fund, so that even if you got a governor who is from a certain clan, and he didn't get votes from a different corner of that county, they have no say in terms of denying the people of that ward or that particular location development. So we must strengthen devolution further to create a more equitable country that has 1,450 wards that are able to develop equitably. So I agree with you, the honorable member, that yes, devolution is working, but it can be strengthened. But also must state this, that the biggest threat to devolution, apart from the factors I've mentioned, is William Ruto himself. William Ruto never believed in devolution. He opposed this constitution that gave us devolution. And you could tell from day one, the day he was sworn in was the day he actually scrapped the Ministry of Devolution. Today, you see him all over the country. There is one who asked me whether the tour of Western changed Western. No, he was all over Western, opening markets. Now,